Alright guys, we are live. I'm just gonna ask the chat if they can hear us. Can y'all hear us? And you guys can
it's not showing live on my side.
Okay. Yeah, they might have to see ads or whatnot. Okay. So that is that. How's my audio, everybody? And so I'm gonna periodically increase the volume to 100%. It keeps lowering. I cannot believe this is happening. Okay. So we have 12 people on the show. Can anyone hear us? And you guys can say hi.
It's going live now. It's showing ads.
Yeah, so what you could do is if you want to just pop out the chat so that the video isn't, because it's gonna be a bit lagged from the one I'm sharing with you guys. So that's that. See if I can make it even smaller. This one here. Okay, so that's this. I'm just gonna do. Okay, Paul Laven. Okay, good evening. Audio's good. Rotary Emotion says that. All right, let's go. We have people saying it's working fine. I'm gonna just adjust some stuff quickly on my, because I'm going to hide the comments periodically, but I'll keep it open on my phone. And lower the. Okay, there's an ad. Yeah, guys, make sure to watch ads. Okay, let's go. This is so algo suppressed. Never get notifications. All right. Yeah, so yeah, that's life. Says audio's good, and yeah, Stephen F. First superfast in the show, and saying yeah, doesn't even get notifications. I know definitely YouTube is just ridiculous. 1 second.
They don't like us.
Oh yeah, so every single live stream mine is just like put in a limit state, demonetized, copyright, all this garbage. Okay, why is the YouTube app doing that? Okay, audio sounds good, Mr. B. Impossible. All right, okay, so we have a lot of people in there. And how's my screen to you guys, Norman and Adam? You can see my screen?
That's fine.
Okay,
yeah.
There it is, and people saying, and now this guy, Bob John, why did Putin tell George Bush Iraq was responsible for 9/11? Interesting. All right, and then Paul also says he had to search for this, because even though he's subscribed, he still search. All right, guys. So let's just say hi quickly, and then I'll go over the actually I'll go over the housekeeping first, guys, and then I will get straight into the nitty gritty. All right. So here is the link to the links, guys. I made this absolutely epic thumbnail, and I added a lot of the info we had obtained. Where's the blog? Here. I'm just gonna send this to the chat. You guys, there's a link to the links. And basically just a general outline of what we can cover or what I have just to discuss and so on. And the next setup here, because that's a link to links. Everything will be here. And then as always, you can go to mes.fm/links. Everything will be there. All the links to everything will be here. Links to my 9/11 stuff. You click the drop down there and just donate, etc. and everything. And become a super fan. You can donate crypto, PayPal, or super chats and whatnot, and also become a super fan, guys. You get emojis, custom emojis, $15 a month, and yeah, you get some of these emojis. I'll quickly just shill the super fan. So $15 a month Canadian or $2 American, and you get these emojis and so on. So yes, throw cash money at us. And the next setup is what else? Okay, MES store. Okay. I also, there's MES store, guys, for those who haven't heard about this. I just added a new shirt there. Quickly go to here, mes.fm/store. I added a new shirt, which is the, it's a bit lagging, but I have it scheduled. Basically, it's a new shirt you can buy. It's that, I put the thumbnail as a shirt. You go, and you can also get a mug as well. Like this one here.
Yeah, somebody actually asked on X whether or not Adidas is now the sponsor for the show.
Oh, he wants to be a sponsor?
No, they asked if Adidas is a sponsor of.
Oh, Adidas. Oh, okay, Adidas. Yeah, hopefully they didn't see this. Okay, Adidas. If this starts selling, guys, I might get a contract with Adidas. I just said if MES wanted to play my audio file addressing my links to the government, I shared it on your Telegram. I made it in video format. It's pretty funny, Paul Levels. But anyways, I have guests here. I don't want to take their time. We'll play it maybe in a stream when I'm not with guests. Okay, so that's too much time taking from this. And what else did I have here? Also, 9/11 Avengers, guys. Norman has taken the domain, and we're gonna try to build this up, maybe sell some stuff on it as well, and trademark 911avengers.com. So that'd be pretty epic stuff. All right, and now the next setup is, I think it's pretty much it for me talking nonsense, increase brightness, web. Okay, these are all mumbo jumbos. And then, okay, and also I just want to make a statement before we get going. So next week is going to be 9/11 planes research about the passengers. He's going to do a special on that. He's going to do an actual special that's never before seen information on the alleged passengers. And you can see his article about that. This is Mark Holland, aka 9/11 Revisionist, showing up on the stream next week. All right. And I have other streams planned out. So anyways, we'll look at that in a bit. And I have some of these notes here. But anyways, let's just say hi to the guest. And I will stop sharing my screen. How do I do that? How do I stop sharing screen? These are like conundrums. Okay. How do I stop sharing? Is there okay, there's a button. Okay. All right, guys. And yeah, so I stopped sharing screen, and now we have two special guests. We have Norman, aka 9/11 Revisionist, and Adam Eisenberg. So he's actually was at the Pentagon site, so we're gonna have first-hand experience from there and what he saw and didn't see there. And also, guys, here's a list. I put it in the notes as well. Avoid using the word no planes. Avoid that, or fake planes, or crisis actors in any obvious sentence. Just say and avoid the word fake. Use CGI if you need be, and don't and instead do say something like no Boeings, no aircraft, or quote planes, or insider agents as opposed to crisis actors, etc. Anyways, so that's me for that. And also 9/11. I mean, that's life, but now you know it. Thanks for the cash money. And yeah, so you guys take it from there. You guys want to say hi to the audience and so on.
It's just everybody knows me by now.
You're so, like a regular.
Yeah, precisely. So here we'll have Adam say hello. He's a little less known than I am.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's great to be with you guys once again. I thank you guys both for your commitment to 9/11 justice and for also having me on and for just being so consistent with this subject. And so it's great to be there, as Norman said. And as Matthew said, I was there for approximately 240 hours from September 11th to the 30th, taking part in Operation Noble Eagle. I'm going to get into all that in my presentation and really give you guys my oral testimony, some of my investigative investigative evidence that I've been able to come up with, and also some of my research as well that's going into a book that is currently in production.
Yeah, epic stuff. And yeah, you've actually had a lot of interactions with the Richard Gage type people on email and so on.
Oh yeah, the frauds, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. All right.
Yeah, I wanted to get them involved in my efforts, but they wanted nothing to do with me, so that's fine with me. I'll find you guys instead.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Cheers.
Sounds good. All right, great. Oh, okay. He's got the beer going on. Let's go. All right. So let's
water.
have a. Oh, it's water.
Water in a can? Come on, you Americans are so strange.
I have water in a giant like teapot thingy with a straw.
Sparkling water, Norman.
No,
right,
in Africa we go to the tap. It's a lot cheaper.
All right.
And it's not as bad as yours, so it hasn't got any, what you may call it.
I've got a well outside, my friend. I'm just drinking because my wife got me on it. So.
In Africa, doesn't the water like you have like 2 hours a day to drink water, or is that for?
No, that's the electricity for a while, my friend. That was electricity for a while.
All right, perfect. All right, and I'm just gonna adjust my volume. All right, so let's continue further here. Norman, did you want to show first your info, or should I show some?
I'm gonna just quickly run through my stuff. It's most probably going to be about half an hour or so, just the general stuff that most people either already know or so, and then we can go on to Adam with his feet on the ground and everything that he's got, because he's more qualified than us to say what actually was or was not in the Pentagon.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen.
All right.
And then...
Yeah, you could share it, and I'll open this bigger.
And let's just put that over there.
How do I minimize this thing? Hide.
So can you guys see my screen?
I can see it. Yeah, I just want to know how do I view speaker view. Okay, speaker view. No, content view. I'm just gonna hide people on top. Hide people on top, and so the question I have is, how do I hide my Skype thingy there? It's like it shows the messages on the left. I just want to hide these. Or enter full screen. Enter full
screen. Yeah.
No, but that goes because I have a giant computer.
How did you do it last time?
That's a good question. How did I do that last time? Hide. I just want to hide these guys. 1 second. Sorry about this. I just don't know. Like, what am I supposed to do? Anyone know how to do this in the chat? How do I? You can see my. Okay, I just do not understand.
Because most probably because last time it was only you and I, and we weren't 3 people on the call.
Oh, but no, that's not an issue. It's just that I just want to cover up this thingy here. I just want to. Okay, you can. Okay, you can present while I'll do searching online. Okay, I'll just make it bigger. They won't see the comments there. Okay, so you can just do your stuff. I'm gonna.
Okay, yeah. So I've written a couple of articles on the Pentagon and interlinked it into certain other articles. So this is my main Pentagon article that I've got, but before you can basically go through this whole article, you've got to go to a plain article of mine and to a phantom warfare. So we're quickly going to first look at those 2. So this is my plain, no plain article. So let's just see, it just should load.
Just avoid that word, no plane. So aircraft, no aircraft article.
Yeah. I was not going to mention it again.
Yeah.
Why the hell isn't this? Sure. Okay, here it is. Wonderful. If you basically scroll down, I go through all the various aspects with regards to that whole argument, and then when we get to the Pentagon, let me just scroll down to where we need to be. Alrighty then. Why is everything so slow? Got some serious IT issues today. I wonder why. These things need to load so that I can show it to you guys.
Yeah.
So 587.
Yeah, so unless you want me to share your article and you can look at it, it's up to you if it's not loading.
That's strange. Because last time it worked. Okay, so let's see. Go because I need to play. Okay, here it comes. It's just bloody slow. Okay, so this is Jesse Ventura when there was a slight strange anomaly with the call that was made to the one gentleman. So let's quickly play this video so that you guys can hear and see what they uncovered with this one phone call. Okay, so the thing that you've got to remember is if you watch 9/11 Alchemy Facing Reality that Mark Conlon worked alongside with Chris Hampton, that technology actually already was being developed and tried out in 1999 already. So 2 years later, 9/11, all the strange phone calls. So go check out some of my articles. Here's also a very good, this is a longer video that takes the whole aspect of the Pentagon and the flight impact with it flying through the lampposts and all of that. I think it's like 16 minutes long or so, or 10 minutes. I'm not going to play it now, but it's very good. There's actually a section in there that's copyrighted, so you can't upload it to YouTube, but it's on my Rumble and all of that. So just go check out my Substack. There's more than enough information there that you guys can work through. And now I want to show you guys the other article that I've got. And this is the Phantom Warfare one. It's obviously going to take a while to load now. And this is basically Chris Hampton's article that he wrote, and that was his rough draft, if you can call it that, of his 9/11 alchemy, and it's a long article, a lot of information in here, and definitely worth going through if you want to get even more information that he did not even put into the 9/11 alchemy movie. So it goes through a bunch of the planes, it goes through the impact analysis, what a real crash looks like, all of these kind of things, Etna Syntron, where it's not warm wind, and all of that. I just want to scroll down to the part, goes through holography, the guys who were doing it, the seismic readings, the magnetometer data, the Black Ops defense budget, the secret space program, Earth's magnetic field again. And very interesting is if you read the Nikola Tesla and the US Department of Defense timeline with regards to his paperwork, and there's talk here of a particle beam accelerator weapon. So go check that out. And then obviously the government and the SDI, the Advanced Research Project Agency, was working on particle beam weapons in 1958 that accelerates particles with high kinetic energy, which is then transferred to the molecules of the target. So he says that it can mimic the appearance of a kinetic impact, either by like a missile or a plane, but it's a directed energy weapon. Information on the Russians who were working on it, then also into the holography that was being done at the University of, BYU, and that's where Stephen E. Jones also worked, and he's Captain Thermite. More of the military stuff, how Hollywood basically dumbs down the technology that we've got, and the free energy aspects of it. Then you've got your the DEPS, Directed Energy Professional Society guys, a little bit of John Hutchinson, Dr. Wood stuff, and the weird and wonderful stuff that the people saw all around the World Trade Center. And let's get to the Pentagon. I think we're nearly there. Let's go down a little bit more. That's the blooming effects. Okay, so if there's anybody who's a little bit gory or what, we're going to be showing you some bodies that were found at the Pentagon. So if you're a little bit squeamish, look away now, kids. So obviously what you sit with people that seems to be burned, but the clothes and everything is not scorched whatsoever. More of the bodies. And it looks a lot like the same type of stuff that happened to people in Iraq in 2003. And you can remember in 2001, Rumsfeld, or 2003, Rumsfeld was asked about directed energy weapons in a Pentagon press conference, and him and Colonel Myers got really, really uncomfortable when they were asked these questions. So if you can go watch the documentary Star Wars in Iraq, it's all about directed energy weapons being deployed in Desert Storm. You've also got the toasted cars at the Pentagon, like you had at the World Trade Center in the toasted car park. Also, again, a lot of water was being sprayed onto the Pentagon, like they did at the World Trade Center, stating that there's a lot of heat, but obviously they were trying to quench some sort of energy weapon. Then you've got the water features. You've got water features at all three sites. He mentions the issues at Shanksville with regards to the memorial there and the water features. He talks about the cottage, the paper and all the weird debris that was there. The fact that there was no jet fuel in the soil that they checked. And at the Pentagon Memorial, he goes into a lot of information pertaining to the water features and the trees and everything over there. So that also has got the same aspects at Shanksville and the World Trade Center. And then, strangely enough, even at the Oklahoma City bombing, So that is that. So now we can go into my main article, and then I'm nearly going to be done. Also very interesting here, if you want to do a little bit more research on holograms and all of that, very interesting conversation Chris Hampton had with Norio Hayakawa. He was talking about the Dulce, New Mexico, where they were seeing things in the skies in the 80s and 90s, and I think that's when they were already starting to play around with holograms and 3D projected technology. And here's just a couple of screenshots from 9/11 Alchemy Facing Reality, where Chris Hampton goes into great detail about all the patents that they've got, and even what they did in, I think, where was this? Let's see. This was in Los Alamos and the Washington Post, where they were talking about projecting three-dimensional objects that appear to float in the air, and that's way back when, in February 1999. So that's why you need to watch 9/11 Alchemy. So let's get back here. This is the... Okay, I've got a big issue with Jesse Ventura and his Pentagon episode that he's got. I've linked through to the original one in BitChute, and I've just taken a couple of clips. So let's quickly just listen to what they had to say.
To meet Captain Rusty Amer. They'll use a flight simulator to replicate the jet's path to destruction. Or they.
Hey Norman, I just want to. The videos are choppy on our end. Is that
choppy on your end?
Yeah. The previous one I can hear it fine. So it's either. Do you think I should play it on mine or just play it with a bit choppy? It was like that earlier as well, but it wasn't too long of a video, so I just kept going.
No, it's a 3 minute. The audio is actually more important, the people can go to the articles and watch it there.
Definitely.
It's just going to take too much time.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, it's just people were saying that in the chat. Actually, Paul Levels was saying it. So keep going.
Put him in the naughty corner. That because the poor kid couldn't manage to keep the plane in the air. So, again, impossible. And everybody knows about this little GIF that was floating around on the internet for how many years. And everybody thought, yeah, man, this is definitely complete and utter proof that this was a missile that hit the Pentagon. But nobody actually asked the question with regards to the fact that, okay, fine, you've got this GIF showing an impact of a so-called missile into the Pentagon, and that's where it stops. There was no extension on it and all of that. And that was the big question that I always had is, if something like that is out there, why didn't we have any longer section of it? So I'm just quickly going to show. I'm not going to show it to you now because at the bottom I'll show you a little bit more information. This one here is pertaining to the 85 videotapes that the Pentagon had available. So let's just. I think Matthew, this one would be important for you if you can possibly play it on your side, because the people need to see what's been shown in the in this video.
Yeah.
So I'm quickly going to unshare my screen, and if you can play it on your side so that it's less choppy and you can.
Oh yeah. I'll play right now. I have all the links. Okay, so that's the Pentagon one, and then lost tapes. Okay, I'll share my screen.
Okay, let me just quickly get out of here.
Share computer sound.
Stop sharing.
And I will share.
Stop sharing now. Have I stopped sharing?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't. I'll just take over. I just want to find which is the proper link I'm on. I think this one. Okay, and I will get my head just got big. Okay, this one is this. Which one are we looking at right now? Share again. Switch screen or window. I have so many open that I do not know which one is which. Okay. Which one are you? Can you see me scrolling up and down? Is this the one that's on?
I'm not seeing you at the moment. No, not with us.
Okay, so
and the live feed is a bit delayed, so I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, so I think it's this one right here. I'll just go to reminder because they all look alike. Okay, there it is. I'll go to the Telegram one. Share. I don't know what is going on here. Everything is just nothing changed. Share. Okay, the switch window. Okay, you can see this window. You can see our boy Paul Loveless. All right, let's go. So the one you want to show was the Pentagon article. If I go into is this the one Pentagon on 9/11? And then lost tapes.
Scroll down to the tapes. Yeah, there it is.
So tapes, and we'll play this and make it bigger.
This was recorded in Alaska.
Okay, 1 second. The music is it's gonna get copyright, so I don't want to.
No, but you could just fast forward it till where they show
one?
that they are. It's like 10 seconds or so, so it's not long.
Where do I fast forward?
Just scroll at the bottom of it.
Okay, when do you want to
go back a bit? Go back.
Yeah, this one right here.
They start more till you see the guy in the car.
This guy.
More.
There's a guy in the car.
Yeah, from there.
Okay, Matt Sullivan, 9/11 researcher. All right, let's play this.
There were a lot of cameras around the Pentagon. If you look at the Pentagon, you can see that there's cameras on each corner. There's cameras at some of the businesses around the Pentagon.
What is that?
Bottom right of the video, next to the volume. Just make it bigger over there, then it goes to big screen. One next to it.
No, I know, because the thing is, I have a big monitor. It's gonna be like half of it. You'll see. Here's what I put. So you can see it all, but the audience won't be able to see it. They'll see it cut off. I'll just zoom in more and more. So it's big for the audience. Is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Just because my screen is like really big, so it's very wide. I mean, it's very wide. Okay, so I just zoomed in here. Where I'm gonna go back.
Just a little bit more.
Okay, and it should be fine. The audience will be able to see it for fun. Ready and go.
Field changed.
When a Freedom of Information Act requesting all the videos covering the impact zone was filed, the FBI agent in charge of the tapes responded, "The FBI possessed 85 videotapes that might be potentially responsive to plaintiff's FOIA request. But," concluded the agent, "I determined that only one videotape showed the impact of Flight 77 into the Pentagon on September 11, 2001. This is the tape we have all seen many, many times." The FBI could have released all the videos anyway, just to allow the public to see by themselves what was actually shown in each of them. But for some reason, they preferred to keep them under wraps. Initially, the DoD released these 5 frames taken from a Pentagon parking security camera. Later on, in 2006, the DoD released the entire sequence from which the 5 frames had been extracted. The time-lapse sequence runs at approximately 1 frame per second, and it shows the moments leading up to the impact, the large explosion, and the billowing fire that ensued. Unfortunately, the video does not show the airplane in transit. All we can see in the frame preceding the explosion is what appears to be the tail of an airplane followed by a trail of white smoke. But the body of the plane remains covered by this concrete column standing in the foreground. The Department of Defense also released a second video, taken by a different camera from the same parking lot. The second camera was actually located in the very column that obscured the view of the plane in the first video. This aerial shot of the Pentagon shows the actual location of the 2 cameras. The second camera faces in the same direction as the first, and it offers a clear, unobstructed view of the same field of action. By using the moment of the explosion, we can synchronize the 2 cameras with absolute frame-by-frame accuracy. By synchronizing the 2 cameras, we notice that the second video begins earlier than the first.
Matthew?
Yeah, what was that?
Stream has been cut. Stream is down.
The stream is down?
Yep.
Is it down?
Down. Stream suspended for policy violations.
Okay, so the stream is down. No way, that's what people are saying. Blocked because we detect the video belonging to more info. Okay, so we are down. Your stream has been temporarily blocked. So what does that mean? What does temporarily mean? Do I get it back on?
I don't know.
Alright, yeah, so this is why we have to be very careful with all these stuff. That's why I usually post to either Telegram or YouTube and then share those videos in the stream so I can know. But yeah, this was okay.
You know, I just want to say something, you guys.
Yeah.
when the lies fail, censorship and this type of bullshit begins.
Yeah.
So anybody that's watching this, you know, there's 48 concurrent viewers.
No, but I don't think they can see us now or hear us.
Oh, well, hell's bells, never mind. I was trying to rally people and be like, look what we deal with.
But you could chat with them, yeah. But you could chat with them, though.
Normal.
So
if everything was as we thought, you know, we were told for it to be.
Okay, they say we're back on.
Okay.
They say we're back on, so we can't play that video.
Okay, yeah, but so we're back on. Okay, that's good. But what you can also do is I send a link to the actual chat, or you could open up the chat even if we go offline. You could always chat live, so they can always see that, regardless whether they block it or not. All right.
Okay, but it seems we're back. So let's go back to the article.
Yeah, so,
but not play that, and they just need to go read the bloody article.
Okay, guys, go read this. Read this article. But that was a great article. Yeah. So the thing is, there's literally 85 tapes, and there's one camera literally in front. I played with muted and we'll just have a discussion. Okay, I just don't like.
Yeah, but because the thing that they go into here is they show the two cameras over there, and they also go into a specific frame, and they prove that there was a frame that was photoshopped. So even what we got there, something was taken out.
Yeah.
I also want to add something to you guys, and this is in my presentation as well. My closest and most trusted teammate has debunked these videos, and I'm going to show you guys where you can find that. He's a member of American Mensa, a very bright young man named Xander Arena. He did a 3-hour presentation. I'm going to show you guys how to get to that, showing that mathematically what the government gave us is impossible. So Matthew, I would love to link you up with Xander. I think you guys would have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, that'd be great to have
Okay,
that
so
as well.
let's go down. Yeah.
So you can see
people can go read the article and go watch the video. So just scroll down a little bit more. There's a next video. Okay, that one over there. This is going to go into the strange anomalies with regards to the water and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. So play that one, please. Right. Thank you, Donkey.
In the previous film, I presented
Okay, let me just increase. Everything's fine. Let's play this again.
Evidence of directed energy weapons at both the Pentagon as well as the Shanksville Flight 93 crash site.
Views about your.
Sorry, I'm getting. Okay, where was that again? Because I zoomed in and it just lost my place. Okay, there it is. I'm trying to make this. Okay, they're bigger, just so the audience can see. And it's like, yeah. So for Telegram, I don't like. I mean, for Substack, I don't like embedding stuff. Just like. It's just hard to deal with.
The thing is, with the problem with Substack and all of that, if you bring stuff in and they take the bloody videos off YouTube or Rumble or wherever, then the stuff are gone. That's why I pretty much need to go over all my articles again and everything that was linked to my Odyssey channel that got taken down with over 500 videos. I need to re-upload to Rumble and rebuild bloody well everything.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's better to embed it so that it can't be taken down.
Well, yeah, unless the Substack takes it down eventually. So that's the thing. Long term, think of just put it on 3Speak if you can. Long term, don't need to worry too much about it currently. But I think Substack will have the similar, and Telegram as well. We'll get more and more pressure from the government. But I make sure to keep everything on 3Speak as a backup. And also use it more often. So if you go to 3Speak, you can upload 4K, everything on here, and you earn crypto as well, and so on. So like this one, there's no censorship. You could play the whole video. This is the one that was censored on YouTube. Because this one is decentralized. So the people that are actually storing it are just like people like you and me. But then you can earn. So whoever's storing it gets to earn crypto from a decentralized setup there. So that's that. So definitely, So 3Speak is the one backup up to the backups, because Substack, Telegram will eventually get more and more pressure, and become like YouTube and Rumble. Rumble, for example, is banned in France, Russia, forget where else. So Rumble itself, even though it's not censoring in the U.S., but it's other areas, countries don't even show it. All right, let's play this.
In the previous film, I presented evidence of directed energy weapons at both the Pentagon as well as the Shanksville Flight 93 crash site.
There's actually no doubt in my mind
that there's energy effects at Shanksville.
This evidence parallels perfectly with the evidence compiled by Dr. Judy Wood in her 500-page investigation of the World Trade Center entitled Where Did the Towers Go?, where she clearly shows evidence of directed free energy technology being responsible for destroying both of the towers in New York City on September 11th, 2001.
We spoke about the electrical disturbances, didn't we, in New York in the film? And we do have similar circumstances at the Pentagon with this electrical disturbances. What the seismologists determined was an electrical disturbance. So the fluctuation in that seismic data and the readings was from electrical disturbance. The person's watch stopped, which happened at the towers as well. The watches just stopped. We have clocks stopping at certain times, where there's some type of electromagnetic interruption or disturbance happening. And I think there's evidence in that seismic data at the Pentagon.
Or field interference.
Yeah, field interference. We have rusting on the guardrails. Now, these guardrails are stainless steel, and there's in a number of places, there's elements where it's rusted up, it's breaking down. And in one section, they've actually taken away the guardrail altogether. It rusted up that bad, and that's over by the planes path, actually, the official plane path. They took that piece out. Now, further up the Pentagon, where the unofficial flight path was, you've also got rusting. It's on both sides of the highway, freeway. And that is quite consistent, where they've had to put a number of trees in place. And I've tracked some of the rusting from 2007 or 8 right the way through, and it's still breaking down. The other area is just to mention is we got these toasted trucks, fire truck. When the plane struck, this fire truck was unable to start. Something affected its battery. That fire truck has familiar circular holes in some of the in one of the windows. It also has a rusted back wheels, rusted up, and also it's wilted at the back. Wow. Also with the clocks stopping and wristwatches, this takes me back to batteries and the galvanised steel of the guardrails. They have something in them called zinc, but I think there was something interfering with the zinc levels in those guardrails which caused some type of transmutation. And I think they also affected the alkaline. If there was alkaline batteries, they could have affected those as well, because they have zinc. Batteries are related with zinc as well.
So it sounds like more evidence of the Hutchison effect, energy phenomenon. And because of the zinc in the galvanized steel and because of the zinc in the batteries, we had the clock stopping and the rusting.
Yeah, it's indicative of a directed energy weapon. It's transmutation. We got the iron microspheres, which were in the dust at the World Trade Center. Again, there isn't a connection to the crop circles. Again, some type of energy effect.
I'm sure many of you noticed how Elon Musk and space technology in general was declared an essential business during the pandemic. But did you know that Elon Musk's so-called Starlink company was actually created in 1996? While doing some digging on the archive, I found this jewel in the Wayback Machine. Internet beamed from space in 1996. They didn't even bother to change the name. Isn't it funny how the schematic for Starlink looks eerily similar to Nikola Tesla's space-based weapons system? More evidence that this pioneer is nothing more than a frontman.
Oh yeah, that's pretty epic. I just want to make one note at the end of the Starlink one. I actually made a correction when I uploaded. So if you go to 3Speak right here, I included a small correction on that Starlink one.
Okay.
So it wasn't actually Elon Musk's, like the company with the website way back. If I go to how do I play it bigger? It's like there's always an issue. Where's the correction I added? It's in here somewhere, the Starlink one. I just want to zoom in there. Okay, I just hate technology right now. Okay, I'm gonna click this one here. Just a quick note. I added it inside this right here. I just don't even know how to okay, screenshots right here. I'm working on the screenshots, but I added it at the end somewhere here. So just want to get to the Starlink one.
Like 30 seconds, guys. I'll be right back.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Don't worry.
We're nearly done.
Yeah, we're pretty much done this one. I just wanted to get to the error one. Okay, it's I'm just gonna open up on my thingy. It's not that important. It's just that it's semi. But I included it in there just to show it. It's like it's always an issue with stuff like this. Okay, now the big idea. I'm opening up on my it's on my browser. Oh, you guys won't be able to see this then. Okay, so actually, which is a good one? Rumble, I think. Sorry about this. Rumble, MES. Let's go here and go to the thingy. Yeah, so Rumble. This one, big idea. It's still on Rumble. I just want to be able to. I haven't put the timestamps in yet, which I like. Okay, this one I can zoom in. There's a Starlink somewhere here. Yeah, past the guardrails, and then we can make it bigger. So this one here, I added a note quickly.
They didn't even bother to change the name.
So right here, MES correction. In 1996, Starlink.com was an internet provider company in Phoenix, Arizona. And in 2006, it was a database of links to celebrities or stars. It wasn't until 2019 that Starlink.com became what it is today. Yeah, alright. So I just wanted to bring that up because you can go to Starlink.com and then you go to the archive. Yeah, so it is eerily similar how the 1996 one. Okay, it's like it's just something happened. Starlink.com. I'm just gonna go here. Okay, Starlink.com. Yeah, so although this is Starlink, with Elon Musk's one right now, but if you go to the web archive and just go to web archive, Starlink.com, and then if you go, for example, 2006, it was actually a star links to stars. Like links to like I said in the thingy here, it was actually links to celebrities. You can see Kobe Bryant, Starlink.com, etc. And then 1996, I actually told I had a call. I actually told Chris Hampton that, but it's a minor thing. I just because I was about to share that part. I'm like, okay, this is pretty epic. But this one is just eerily similar. This one's eerily similar to his Starlink setup, which is just quite amazing. And the Starlink is a full-service internet provider in the greater Phoenix area. So it's actually it was giving dial-up internet in the 1996 time in Arizona and so on. Anyways, I just wanted to bring that note up, and yeah. Besides that, the rest of the yeah, that was actually the only correction I made in the stream. I mean, in his videos. It's pretty epic. Which is
Alright, back to the article.
Alright, so we're back.
We can finish up so that we can listen to Adam.
Yeah, we can listen to Adam.
One down. Okay. Just scroll up a little bit. Okay. That one. Play. Okay, so strangely enough, now if you had a missile or whatever hit the Pentagon, this was later on in the evening, live feed to the Pentagon, and let's listen to what they're saying with regards to the ongoing fires.
Yeah, I'll play this right. Oh my goodness, every time it just moves.
Location at the moment. We're seeing fires at the Pentagon tonight. I don't think these are we have no idea whether this is cause for alarm, but you did tell me many hours ago that all the fires at the Pentagon were out, and if you can see your monitor now, they are going again. Do you have the slightest idea what's happening?
They would be up in one of the high roof sections, Peter, where they have successfully put out the fires only to have them reignite again and again in the strange roof section, which is a slate-covered wood roof in this old building, the Pentagon, and they have had an extremely difficult time putting out all those fires.
Yeah, no, that's amazing.
Okay, and just scroll down a little bit more so that we can just quickly more, and that one so that we can just debunk the GIF that has been floating around for all these years.
Yeah. So that GIF has been floating around, but it's like they don't actually have a link to anything. So it's, when I first saw it, I'm like, you have to prove things are real before assuming.
Yeah, now you're going to see that it's fake.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was actually part of an ad, I think, or not an ad, just a stock footage of the Pentagon. It's exactly this was stock footage, and then someone just edited and added a few stuff like that.
And now we can scroll down a little bit more, or just finish playing it. And then who's this guy? I don't have a clue who he is.
We can play. Yeah. Do you want me to play this one or not? Or
no, don't need to play that, because this is now where we hand over to whoever that guy is.
Yeah. So it's Adam Eisenberg. Sounds good. And I also have some notes and questions to ask you as well, specifically about that Lee Wheelberger guy. The first time I heard about you, actually, there's this guy saying that. Yeah, this is the guy that you says your primary suspect, and then he was the one. He was clearly, I could tell that he said he was also on the site, but he was saying it's like a real Boeing and so on, and and he says don't believe Adam, and then his channel got deleted. This guy's.
Or of course he says that.
Yeah. So it was the guys. I'm like, anyone that says there's a full Boeing there, I can't take seriously. All right. So so take it to you, and if you want to share screen or whatever you want to. Discuss and so on. Up to you.
Okay, let me first make sure that I'm doing this right. Let me make sure I'm getting my stuff together. This is going to be a fun presentation, guys. I apologize. I'm going to see if I get this technology. Share screen. We got to do. Skype would like to record this computer's screen and audio. Okay, set.
Well, it's up to you. You don't need to record if you don't want. Mine's recording as we speak, anyways. So you'll be able to.
Okay.
But up to you.
There
on
we
your
go.
own.
All right. No, yeah, it was telling me I needed it. All right. So start sharing, and there's a way to do it with sound. I have to share with sound, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah, you have to click that button. There should be an option that says share with sound.
Let me see. Let's try. Try and share screen. I don't see one that says share with sound.
Well, when you share window, I think, or something like that. Let's see. I'll have a look at how I do it. Share screen. Yeah, when you click, the first thing when you click share screen, there should be a share at the bottom, right beside start sharing, or right on top of start sharing. Share computer sound.
Yeah, well, it's so weird. I'm sharing right now. I think you guys can see what I'm.
Yeah.
You see my presentation?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, tell me if we have problems with volume, and I'll go from there. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So we can. I can see it, and I'm just gonna get the chat up because I still don't know how to hide the conversation thingies on my Skype. Okay. So it's fine. It's working as we.
You guys can see that I'm going between screens here. Okay.
Oh no, I'm no. Actually, I'm not. I don't see you going through. Okay. I see you. Now it says the Orion project with Adam Eisenberg as your presentation. Yep. There's no. Were you switching windows? What were you switching?
No, that's fine. No, you're good. I'm going to try and do this. So, hello. I'm going to get started. I think we're good to go here. I'm going to try and toggle back and forth between screens with where my videos are at. I've never used Skype to present, but that's all right. We will figure it out. So my name is Adam Eisenberg. As a member of Alpha Company, 3rd U.S. Infantry, as I said, from September 11th to the 30th, I spent approximately 240 hours on site. And this presentation is going to give you guys kind of a glimpse into my journey. It's going to be 3-part. It's going to kind of show you about my oral testimony, about my investigation, and about my research work and the book that I'm completing. And so I really appreciate all of you giving me the time and space and just listening to what I have to say. I promise you, if you are watching this for the first time, if you're watching my information for the first time, you are going to come away with something. And additionally, if you go back to any presentation I've given, one of the promises I always give whenever I give my latest presentation is that I include new information that I have never released before. And so my work is expanding quite a bit. And so with that being said, you're definitely going to see some new things you haven't seen on this subject. But I'm going to start with a video. You guys see my my screen now? Do you see a YouTube video, Tulsi Gabbard, who actually runs the government? You guys see that video? Can't hear you.
Not at the moment, no.
What about,
so I was muted. Yeah, no, I can't hear you. I mean, I can't see the thing, so I was muted my microphone. You may have to try to share entire screen, not just window.
I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Stop sharing. Man, I'm so sorry, guys.
Or unless you just switch, because you were sharing a PowerPoint, So what you could do is start sharing the tab. Yes, share the window when you want to share the video, and then go switch back to the PowerPoint once you're done now.
Can you see it right now?
I see just you. So you'll have to click actual share window, like the actual thingy. Now you're frozen. Okay, now you're back.
I hate Skype. This is terrible. I've never done this before. Yeah.
So there should be the share one. Okay, so it says desktop and window. Do you have anything else opened?
Yes. It's just minimized.
Yeah. So on your options, all it's showing is share switch. Oh, that's switch window. Choose screen to share. I can see your stuff, but it's not showing. It doesn't look like you have an option to share your window or your tab.
Yeah. Strange.
Yeah, I don't know why that's doing that. Is it on the same computer or what's going on?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Everything's right here.
Okay. I have no idea what kind of.
Yeah, you guys. I hate to say it. I mean, if I can't do that, I cannot present.
Okay. Unless
you guys eat my shit, I cannot present.
Yeah, but you have Zoom, right? Unless we just switch up over to Zoom.
Oh, I have Zoom, 100%.
Yeah, because you have free Zoom. Yeah. So if you, that's what I heard. So if you can send a link to Zoom, just open it up and then I'll just download it.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I'll just do Zoom. Yeah, Skype. I use Skype because Google Meet doesn't work well with Norman. And my microphone just automatically is lowering today. I've never experienced like this in my life. My microphone, when I increase the volume, it just automatically lowers. This is the. Okay, so you could set up Zoom, and then once it's running, we'll just close everything off.
Oh, can we invite you to a meeting?
Yeah, actually, we could do the Zoom, or if you want to do the videos, you could send me the video, and I'll play the video, and then get it back to you. If you want to do that instead. Because people are saying just send it to me. So you could just put in the chat the link to any video, if it's a link. I don't know why I can share, but you can't. Because.
How do I send it to you? Somebody email it to you?
Or in the chat, right here in the chat. Okay. Inside the actual Skype chat.
Okay, pull up that video.
Okay, I'll pull up the...
Just play it from the beginning.
Okay, this is the Tulsi Gabbard. Okay, hopefully we don't get copyright. Okay, you can see I will start sharing now.
I'll tell you when to pause.
Yeah, I'm going to start sharing. And then we'll give it back to you. Okay. Yeah, share... Tulsi Gabbard, share with. Okay, you can see. There's a lot of technical difficulties. All right, and you can see my stuff, and I'm gonna play the video. You can hear it.
Who actually runs the government, in your experience?
Not who you think it is. It's and in many cases, especially recently, the troubling part about all this is it's not even people who we vote for. When you look at what happened when President Biden had that infamous debate with President Trump, it exposed the reality that many of us have known for a long time, which is that President Biden has not been the guy calling the shots. He has not been the guy making the decisions, nor has it been Kamala Harris, for that matter, nor will it be if she is elected president. It is this cabal of the Democrat elite, the woke warmongers, made up of the likes of Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and, Tony Blinken and Jake Sullivan and, people who are in the military industrial complex, people who profit from us being in a constant state of war. It is.
You guys just heard it right there. And I wanted you guys to hear that because we have a formerly elected official, Tulsi Gabbard, saying that the cabal also consists of the military industrial complex. And so I wanted to make sure that you guys saw that video. We don't have to go any deeper into that, but I wanted to start out with that because as you guys know, if you're here, if you have been following this subject, we are dubbed conspiracy theorists, we are dubbed a lot of things, and we are criticized by some people. But we have an elected official talking about how this country is not really being run by our elected officials. And I personally subscribe to the belief that it's been that way for quite some time. And I'm going to show you guys my efforts, how I stumbled into members of the intelligence and military industrial complex apparatuses naturally through my efforts trying to get my story out. And basically how my 9/11 activism has continued to shift over time. And so I'm going to go ahead and jump into my presentation. Let me see. Do I have to do anything? Do I just go ahead and do share screen and go back to...
Yeah, just share it back to the one. And if it's
desktop or window? I'm technically stupid, so let's... I don't know, what should I do? Desktop?
Yeah, try that now. The other one was working fine. Okay, I could see...
Yeah.
Okay, now we can see your whole desktop. Okay, now it's an Orion project. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, you guys. I always like to start these presentations. Can everybody hear me, by the way? Everything's good. You can see my screens. Everything's golden.
I can see it, yeah. What we already know and not what we believe.
And so I always like to talk about Operation Northwoods because I think that 9/11 was pretty much Operation Northwoods. And so if you haven't had the chance to dig into that, I highly recommend you doing that. I'm assuming that a lot of people that are listening to this have already started to cross that bridge, but if you haven't, I would really recommend you doing so. Here's a mainstream news article talking about the plans for Northwoods and basically how we were trying to use this back in the early 1960s, this plan of Americans killing Americans and then blaming it on Cuba as a way to get militarily involved in the region. And so I like to say that, 9/11 had a lot of objectives, and we're going to talk about some of those objectives. But in order for this to truly kind of transpire into kind of a false flag operation that then ushered in many different conflicts, I then looked to the testimony given by this general right here, General Wesley Clark. Have you guys listened to this testimony before?
Yeah, I've actually uploaded to my channel. I have like a 7-minute one.
That. Perfect. Yeah. So you guys know that this guy was talking shortly after the Pentagon allegedly got hit. He was there. He was talking to some very high-ranking brass, and the scuttle was that they were lining up all these different military campaigns as a result. Furthermore, you can get into the testimony of April Gallup. You can find that on Rumble. She is, in my opinion, the first person to really push the envelope trying to get the message out. I consider myself to be the second person, but I'm really the first responder that has been doing it. She took her case to court, and she also took it to an appeals court. I don't want to get into all that now, but you can look all this stuff up. And so people try to criticize her on this issue, saying that she was only in it for the money. And I think that's a pretty pathetic excuse to criticize her. But I would highly recommend going and listening to this testimony about what she did and did not see. We also have the Citizens Investigation Team, Craig Ranke and Aldo Marquis. I'm very happy to say that Aldo Marquis is a friend. He's been, kind of there assisting in any way, shape, and form, but really their work speaks for itself. I like to say that I'm pretty much also building on top of that. And if you go to their website, you can see their national security alert videos, which is really their best. They also have several other interviews, supplemental videos, and then they've even got their own research forum that they have had going for quite some time, where they have defended their work against anybody. But really, for those of you who aren't familiar with CIT, these gentlemen are the ones that interviewed some key witnesses, and they were able to ascertain a completely different flight path that was not a Boeing 757. And basically, I'm not going to speak for these guys. I'm just going to say, go listen to these videos right there. But they were really the pioneers. They are the ones that really got everything started. I mean, we can look at the pictures that are available of what we, did not see, but these guys were the first ones to really get their hands dirty on the issue and start interviewing people and chasing people. And even right here, taking pictures of the different things that were happening. These are the light poles being taken away. They put this on their website to show, if these light poles were actually hit by something, then how would they have these perfectly looking cut marks? And if these things were, hit by a Boeing 757 in the greatest, day of tragedy in our country's history, why are these, light poles just sitting there on the side of the road days later? You can see operations have been going on for a long time. So yeah, they really get into all that. Furthermore, there's pilots for 9/11 Truth. Unfortunately, those guys are not around anymore. One of my fellow researchers, Xander Arena, has actually taken all their videos and he's uploaded them to this website. I personally think that these two are the best when it comes to the issue of the Pentagon. I highly recommend you guys checking those out. But what they also did, they went further than videos. Rob Balsamo, Captain Jeff Ladis, and Commander Ralph Kolstad also took the North Approach impact analysis, they created a North Approach impact analysis using the information created by CIT. And then they broke out their pilot math, and they started to basically show that, it is impossible for any fixed wing aircraft to cause the directional physical damage to the light poles, generator trailer, and Pentagon, leading to the C-ring hole approaching from directly over the Navy Annex. So we can even dig deeper into research. I like to touch on Dulles as well, where we already know, and this is not my words, this is the words from the 9/11 consensus panel, which I really think is a spook panel, but I'm still going to use their own words against them. They even said that there are serious problems with the authenticity of that video. You can look at their reasoning there, or you can take a look right here. The claim was not supported by positive identification of any of these men by Dulles Airport staff. And so we can see, these people that allegedly flew a Boeing 757 into the Pentagon, walking around, some parts of Dulles, but we do not see them going into any planes. We don't see, I want to see passengers going into planes. I want to see terrorists getting onto planes, all these things. You can't. So Dulles International Airport has over 300 surveillance cameras. The FBI did not release any of these. The unstamped images from the videos do not provide any kind of data that's normally present in security videos. The speed was faster. I mean, I circled some of, I think, the most important points that they make, but they say there is therefore no credible photographic or witness evidence that any of the alleged 9/11 hijackers were preparing to board American Airlines Flight 77, which allegedly crashed into the Pentagon. Going even deeper than that, they also agreed that ticket agent Brenda Brown, who checked in first-class passengers that morning, remembered clearly checking in several passengers on a light travel day, but she did not recall any Arab males. Let's get into those Arab males. Let's go even further. We can find mainstream media articles showing from from Hani Hanjour's own brother that they thought they liked it in the United States, that he would give his life to save lives, not to do this. There's a lot of different, mainstream media articles just talking about the anomaly that was Hani Hanjour, that he couldn't fly, that his instructors became so alarmed by his crude skills and limited English that they notified the FAA to determine if his license was even real, which, how did he get a pilot's license to begin with? Nobody really knew how. We got interviews from gentlemen from the Freeway Airport up in Bowie, Maryland, Marcel Bernard, that point blank said that Hanjour flew 3 separate occasions the second week of August before 9/11, and about a week's period after those 3 flights, the instructors that had flown with him had informed him that his skills were so poor in a Cessna that he was, they were going to insist that he do more flight training. That's Marcel Bernard. Further, we can get into Joe Gavra of the Bowie Flight School, and I don't even want to break down his testimony, but he said, and this is a description from the YouTube video, that his attitude was so bad that one of the instructors who flew with him said he wouldn't even fly with him anymore. So this right here is a Cessna cockpit. This right here is a Boeing 757-200 series cockpit. If Hani can't do this, how is he expected to fly this? And so I asked anybody that. There's no logic to it, of course. But as I said earlier, one of my closest assistant researchers, Xander Arena, very bright guy, has roundly debunked these videos. And he did a presentation with one of our friends. His name is Jeremy Sladen. He's a truth seeker. This was, I think, back in 2022, he did this one. I linked them up, and he did 2 presentations on just the absurdity. And if you haven't seen him or heard of him, I definitely recommend checking those out. But I also am in the process of breaking down the witness testimonies and really looking for all the anomalies. If you break those down, I will just tell you this. The people who are out there trying to cause chaos on this issue when it comes to the Pentagon, they like to cherry pick witnesses. They say we like to cherry pick witnesses, people on the opposite end of the issue. But when you break the witness testimonies down, I kind of liken it to anybody that's ever been around children that are lying. And so that's also what I'm doing right now. If you break these testimonies down, you can't just stop if they say, oh, a Boeing 757 hit the building. Keep listening to what they're saying, and you're going to see the absurdity. We're not going to go into the witnesses because I'm still working on that, and quite frankly, that's an old subject. But going now into what led me to this. I got out of the military in 2005, and really from 2005 to 2020, I think we can all agree, I'm 43 years old, if you've kind of fallen this kind of parameter, this age group, that the world that we were born in really no longer exists. And that especially applies to the United States. And so, you know, moving along, I graduated college in 2008. There was a financial crisis happening then. I couldn't get a job, 2009, 2010. It was a very tough time in the United States. And things kept getting tougher. The endless wars weren't stopping. The debt was not getting any better. The United States was just continually getting more and more polarized with every election cycle. And so finally, we all know what happened in 2020. The world's elite gave us COVID-19, which is complete bullshit. And that was really when I looked at the world and I looked at the direction things were heading in. I looked at the madness, and I just looked at the polarity. I looked at everything that was happening and just how people were being driven apart from one another. And, you know, the processes in our elections were getting really screwy. There was a lot of, people claiming that there was a false election that had occurred and that the election was stolen. Our U.S. debt was back in 2020, terrible and not getting any worse. Nobody was doing anything about it. So I basically then looked at this gentleman who was supposed to be draining the swamp, even though he was ushering in things like Operation Warp Speed. And I looked at places like New York City, where proof of vaccination was starting to be required to go to places. And I finally said, game over. And I personally believe, and I've been saying it for a long time, that all of these incidents are related. And so I said to myself, if anybody's truly awake, they're going to be working their way back, and eventually they're going to look at September 11th. And it's been one of my dreams to always study and really deeply immerse myself in this issue, because I quite frankly never believed anything of what I saw. And you guys are going to see some more of what I'm talking about here shortly. But that is what really started this whole thing. And so if you look at my Instagram account, and I'm going to reference that, that's kind of where I continue to, that's where I started my journey, but that's where I kind of breadcrumb my investigative efforts. So December 17th, 2020, I gave a 45-minute testimony on YouTube. This video is no longer available, but it basically was put out to the world, and it just gave my extemporaneous thoughts, much like I'm doing now. I was speaking from the heart. I had no notes. But I was just talking about what I did and didn't see, and I released it to the world. And I thought that that was going to be it. I thought that my heart was going to be kind of finally at peace. I made my peace, I put it out there, and I kind of expected to be the guy that the 9/11 Truth Movement was like, finally, we have somebody that we've always been waiting for, somebody that spent extensive time on site. And as an additional feather in my cap, a lot of people don't know this, I also down the road had a professional working experience with Pratt & Whitney. That was one of two companies that outfitted the Boeing 757-200 series airplane, their engines. So not many people can say that they have the extensive time on site and that they also have extensive experience working with professional experience working with aeronautical parts. And so I put that testimony out there. I thought that was going to be it. But it was not, and things got, I guess you could say, much more deeper once I started to talk about this. But before we go any further, I have to say that there's something that is driving me even harder than just justice for the people that were murdered and the individuals that have suffered since and the families. There's so many victims out there between the United States and all the people that, the United States killed as a result of these incidents. and as a result of this false flag attack. And then, the United States also has had a lot of people affected by this. People like my friend, both of my friends, Staff Sergeant Christopher Haig, who was killed in Iraq, and then Staff Sergeant Adam Dickmeyer, who was killed in Afghanistan several years after the incident. A more deeper why. This was me. This was the first flag that I ever handed off in Arlington Cemetery. I handed off quite a bit of flags during my period working in the Old Guard. So it sticks with you when you have to hand a flag off and say, sir, ma'am, this flag is presented on behalf of a grateful nation as an expression of appreciation for the honorable and faithful service rendered by your loved one. I had to do that a lot, and I had to do that based on a lie. So this was my casket team. I'm this guy right here. We buried a lot of people in Arlington Cemetery during this time. That also fuels my fire. Furthermore, the Old Guard also did Dover missions. Anytime bodies were brought back from a war zone, they had to go through Dover Air Force Base. And in doing that, members of the Old Guard would fly helicopters up there, and we would ceremoniously remove them. Well, once we did that, we would then take them, they would be taken to the Charles C. Carson Center for Mortuary Affairs on Dover Air Force Base. Now, as fate would have it, and I don't know why this was the case, it was kind of morbid in my opinion, but every time we went up there, we had to go with a flag officer, but it seemed like they always wanted a tour of this facility. And I didn't take these pictures. These pictures that I'm showing you right now, I found online, but as you can see here, somebody's given somebody a tour of this facility, somebody in a suit. But every time I went up to Dover, we always went with a different general, and we always had to go tour this facility. And it got to the point where we were doing it so regularly that we basically just got to walk from the front of the facility and exit. And they kind of just let us kind of walk through and do our own thing. But seeing some things that I saw, this was one of the rooms that I'll never forget. Having, walked past this window one day when we were up there and just seeing almost all of these gurneys loaded with remains, that stuck with me. Walking through the hallways of the building and some of the back hallways and seeing these caskets, or not caskets, these bodies that were laid out with these individuals, and they had like gauze over their faces, but they were all in uniform. They were being prepared to be transported home. Those images stay in my face. Images from the day, like when my buddy Dan Gordon, he was on my team. When those bodies, were being carried with caskets, there was ice inside of those caskets. Sometimes that ice melted, and that nasty, icy, bodily remain water would get on our white gloves. So there was a lot of things that I remembered that drove me to where I am today. But all 9/11 oral histories, if you study this stuff, they begin with a backstory of the witness. And if 9/11 was truly an inside job, then I must clear my name. And so I do that in a lot of different ways. And when I look at the fake researchers and the frauds like Richard Gage and David Chandler and all these other charlatans and agents that are likely out here spreading mis and disinformation, I ask them, I want to dig into you. I'm willing to let you do the same for me. And so how do I do that? First and foremost, you can go to ancestry.com. That's what I've done. And I've started to pull out my information about me. I also do this because my last name is Eisenberg. So it goes without saying that sometimes people pop up and make statements about, must be another globalist Jew, must be a chill, Jews did 9/11. Well, first and foremost, I'm not Jewish. My father was not Jewish. My grandfather, his father, was until he was 13 years old and he wasn't given a bar mitzvah ceremony. And he basically then said, I'm not doing this shit anymore. And so it really doesn't even count. I'm not an expert in Judaism, but I believe it goes towards your mother's side. But anybody that says, oh, this guy Eisenberg, he's probably a plant, he's a shill. Okay, let's break that down and really unpack that. I've got my lineage goes back to France, to Britain, to Ireland. I've got a little bit of Viking in me, but yes, I do have Ashkenazi Jew in me, a West Central Ukrainian Jew, 28.5%. But I am not Jewish. I am not a Zionist. I absolutely detest whoever caused these incidents in the world. And so there's a lot of research out there that leads to some of these entities. So I just wanted to roundly come right out and say it. If anybody says I'm a one of these Zionists or whatever, because some people say that crazy shit, good luck disproving that. Furthermore, I was able to go into my Ancestry.com, go back all the way to my great-great-grandfather, Lizer Eisenberg right here, and I was able to find documents, and I believe I've had one person take a look at these, but this is when he was taken into captivity by the Germans. And so, if you guys want to play games and try to say I'm a shill, like, let's break out your family history too. My great-grandfather barely survived the attack at Pearl Harbor. My father went to Vietnam and was hit with a Chi-Com grenade 3 months in. On my mom's side of the family, we can trace our lineage all the way back to the Revolutionary War and to the War of 1812. In World War II, we had 9 people involved. 1 person served and got killed at Pearl Harbor. His name is forever, on the wall there. And so, I say, if you're going to come at me, I'm going to come at you too, and I'm going to insist that you let me dig into who you are. But when it comes to my time at the Pentagon, I present a lot of different evidence because a lot of people try to discredit me in a lot of pathetic different types of ways. So this is my official original Army Achievement Medal that I was given. As you can see here in this part that I'm circling, it says September 11th to the 30th. You look at these bullet points. I aided military and civilian authorities in recovery and removal of remains from the Pentagon crash site under hazardous conditions. I served in the capacity of heavy and light labor workforce in the removal of debris from the crash site. I also provided continuous support to federal and local authorities in securing the perimeter of the crash site. This is the back of that document. Remember these names. William Besterman said, hey, great job by a stud new soldier. And then James Laufenberg, that was my regimental commander. He signed off on it. So again, September 11th to the 30th, we've got, my achievement medal right here. It might look like this document is a little screwy, especially with this white space. This is an original document, but it was also, believe it or not, it was underwater for a period of time. My house at one point flooded, and so I was able to recover the document, but that explains that. Furthermore, the same thing happened with this document. Those who did not get an Army Achievement Medal got a certificate of achievement. I also got one too. The Army loves to hand out certificates of achievement, but that was for our participation in Operation Noble Eagle. And then you can see right here, I'm the second one. When we retired the flag, this is Alpha Company, Caskets Platoon. We retired the flag that was hanging off the side of the building. This was 1 month after the event. So if anybody wants to say I wasn't there, ask Ortiz, ask Wittenberg, ask Dean, ask Hall if I was there, and I will tell you to go fuck yourself when you say that I wasn't. Furthermore, this picture can be found in the National Archives, so good luck saying that I was not there. More evidence to look at, bullet point number 1 from my Army Commendation Medal from when I got out of the military as a sergeant from September 11th of 2001 to November 2001. I distinguished myself. I don't even have to go into all this stuff, but I just want to show you guys, and I encourage anybody to pause these and look over them. Here's my DD-214 with the stamp right here proving that it's official. Talking about all my awards. Here's my honorable discharge. So if you guys want to say that I was not there or whatever, I'm making this up, sure, go ahead. Here I actually laugh because the documents that discuss the incident, the Pinnacle documents, the Arlington After Action Report, they don't even go into detail about how my unit arrived. And so, as I've talked about this since 2020, I've been attacked by certain people within the community, the 9/11 truth community. And so it's only pushed me to research further. And so from this book, The Attack at the Pentagon, the Medical Response to 9/11, page 21, Here it is. Chief Swartz and Agent Combs coordinated efforts with Major General George Weldon, the military commander, and Major General James Jackson of the Military District of Washington. Page 34, right here. General Weldon took action almost immediately by requiring that Jackson activate the Military District of Washington. Jackson provided about 100 soldiers from the 3rd U.S. Infantry for recovery operation, and 1 tent was to be used for the morgue and 1 for shelter for personnel and 1 for an operations center for Jackson's soldiers who were going to join the recovery effort at 4 o'clock that afternoon. And so I want to say to frauds like Adam Fitzgerald that, continue to say that I was not there. This is, of course, Ryan Dawson's closest assistant that's been running for me in debate for years now, years. Here is your proof, scumbag. So moving right along, you can go to C-SPAN, and September 14th, Major General James Jackson, along with others, gives a briefing talking about the hundreds of soldiers that he's deployed to the site. One of my other favorite resources, and this is where it really gets great, it's a book called Them Came the Fire. I talked about, remember the names, Captain William Besterman. His testimony is in here. Now, the only thing is, you can see right here, Alpha Company got a mission to go on the 12th. So how was Eisenberg there on the 11th? Well, I'm going to get to that, but it's further along down the presentation. But I love this book. I also kind of go back to my, official document. That was the company commander that signed my document. Furthermore, Lieutenant Colonel Tracy Bryant, he was our deputy commander of the whole entire regiment, gives his perception. The general mentality was, I'm here, I'm a soldier, I want to help. So he talks about what we did. I'm not going to get into all that, but if you guys want to look this up, this book is available online for free. You can look it up right now. This is the pinnacle document, and this is the Arlington County AAR. If you type the search function for the old guard, you're going to see that we're also in here, although it doesn't really talk about how we arrived. It just talks about what we did, how we were working with FBI and other agencies, and then, it talked about, how the old guard, the 3rd Infantry Regiment, was transporting human remains. We were also basically, working 12-hour shifts. We were doing a lot of different things on site. And if you look, these are the types of suits that we were wearing. We were wearing Tyvek suits, and we were basically helping out wherever we were needed. We were also guarding the facility that the alleged parts were being taken to. We were doing quite a bit. Furthermore, we're found in both of these. This is the Defense Studies Series, Office of the Secretary of Defense. All you got to do is do a search function. I say that because the fake researchers out there that keep attacking me act like this stuff does not exist. So type in infantry, you'll see 3rd U.S. Infantry, boom, comes right up. Here we are, page 120, the 3rd U.S. Infantry. They had already spent the night of the 11th and the day of the 12th securing the corridors leading into the impact area and clearing debris to the left of it on the 1st floor. So good luck, saying that I was not there. It's all over the place. You literally, you can't miss it. But then if you want to get into the Wayback Machine, look up the Novak archive. This is another great resource. There's an oral history document that can be found. Abstracts that were gained. You can't find this anymore, but they were gained through a FOIA request. A lot of people on site were giving interviews. I'll never forget, it was just a lot. There was a lot of stuff going on. Teams were going in all different directions. And back when we were back at the tent, when we weren't inside the building or doing other things, I kept hearing a bunch of scuttle about all these people giving interviews. I never got to give an interview, but for a long time I had, I couldn't basically find where these interviews were, but finally one of my research assistants found them, and that was through there. So you can look into all this stuff as well. So really, adding to the puzzle, and I know I kind of gave a long kind of why and introduction and everything else, but really my timeline is just a series of anomalies that I'm, showing the world and trying to, I guess you could say, get answers to. I'm a little bit curious as to why that slide is not loading, and let me see, of course, technical difficulties. Okay, let me try and pull this back up. All right, so I'm just going to do it from this screen. Can you guys still see it?
Yeah, I can see it. I can see it.
Okay, I don't know why that thing's doing that. I'm just going to show you from here. So, kind of showing you guys where I was. My base in the DC region was right here. The Pentagon is right here, and where I was when the Pentagon got hit was right here at Fort Myer, Virginia. Kind of going in a little bit further, Fort Myer, Virginia abuts right up next to Arlington Cemetery, and then going in even further, when the Pentagon was attacked, I was right here in Conway Hall. And if you even want to drill down on where exactly I was standing right in this space, looking out this way towards a bunch of different emergency vehicles that kept flying down this corridor right here. Furthermore, I don't know if it's still there, but the Fort Myer Fire Department was right in this area, and we heard them start to peel off. And so right here, my company first sergeant called us to, called the formation, and he was just like, guys, we are under attack. And things got very real. We were hearing a bunch of different things about other things that were happening in the world, attacks that were allegedly happening all over the DC region. We didn't know what to expect. The only thing that we knew is that we had to make it back to our base. And of course, that proved to be a little difficult because we were in DC. This is an area where so many people were trying to get out and we were trying to get in. So once we got back to the base, before we ever started to really get to the site, I was already starting to kind of scratch my head a little bit. And I'm going to tell you guys why that's the case. Hopefully this loads back up. I thought it would on this site. So I basically was a private full of piss and vinegar. I joined the Army. I did very well in my ASVAB, but I only wanted to be an airborne infantryman. And the recruiter was like, great, sign right here, done. So on September 11th, I was ready to go. This is why I joined up, to respond to incidents like these, moments of crisis, and defend our nation. Well, I volunteered to be a part of a unit, a part of an effort that was augmenting the MPs at our base. They needed additional help. And so hand went right up, and I was given the responsibility among, I think, about 15 to 20 other people. So I went down, checked out my weapon from the arms room, and I'll never forget, the arms room specialist handed me a blank magazine, and he said these words. He said, "You have not been authorized the use of live rounds." And I kind of just stood there for a minute, and I said, so I can walk outside of our front door here at Fort McNair, and I can look across the river, and I can see smoke billowing from the Pentagon, where at that point in time, I thought a plane had just flown into the building. And the entire time that we're coming back here, we're hearing all this scuttle about how there's other things happening, other attacks, and you're not going to give me, an infantryman who has passed all the tests to be an infantryman that the United States Army puts in front of them, you're not going to give me live rounds. Didn't make sense. And so I went out to the guard shack, and I'll never forget, there was a very short Latino woman that was an MP that was outside on the guard shack. And I asked her, I said, did you get any additional rounds for that 9 that you're carrying? And she said, no, she didn't. So, in my own research efforts, I was able to find pictures of other bases, Bolling Air Force Base in particular, where an individual is out there in a pair of Ranger panties and a wife beater holding a shotgun. So when those types of efforts are being made right across the river in this terrible event, why was I not given information? Don't take my word for it. Go to the Novak archive, that document that I pulled up, and type in the words Benjamin Yellett. And later you see here, later they performed guard duty on other parts of Fort McNair. When they did have weapons, the weapons were not loaded. And so everybody was getting really patriotic on that day. Everybody was getting really patriotic afterwards. But I've said it since the moment I began my activism, and I'll say it now. 9/11 was the day that I realized I could never do 20 years in the military. And it was because of this moment. It was because I was used as a pawn and not given any ammunition to defend myself. Or was I? Was there some type of warning? I don't think anybody in my unit had any type of hand in this, but it's almost like if it was an inside job, then you must have maybe known at some level that we weren't going to get any resistance over at McNair. So I've been trying to get answers to that. Furthermore, second anomaly, prior to us going on site, we were asked to sign non-disclosure agreements. So it's like we're rushing to go to this terrible thing, but wait, hold on. Sign this document saying that you'll never talk about what you see. And so, I do not have a copy of that document. Other people in my unit don't. They do acknowledge that they too had to sign it. I don't think anybody kept their copies. But I've been trying to understand, why were we forced to sign that? Makes no sense. But going on site, the old guard had several companies that were there working around the clock. As it came to pass, my company came down on the night shift. So from 6 at night till 6 in the morning, from the 12th on, we were pretty much locked and loaded there doing something. Now, I did say that I was part of the advanced party. And I think it has to do with the fact that I was one of the original people that volunteered for duty to go out there and to augment the MPs. So my weapon was naturally checked out. My gear was naturally ready. I was already separated from my company, from my platoon. And so I think that is the reason why I was shuttled over there along with other people from the old guard. And so that's the only explanation I have. But as you saw from the medical response to 9/11, we were there. Now, here is a piece of information I haven't shared yet publicly. I'm going to get a little bit into that. I'm going to first show you the angle of how this thing allegedly hit the building. I thought that I thought that a picture that I added earlier was added, but I guess it went away. I don't know what's going on, but I maybe added it later in the presentation. But sorry, I jumped a little bit ahead. You're going to see a lot of things I haven't shared, but just to kind of recap, this is the angle that the plane allegedly went into, damaging certain parts of of this area right here. You can kind of see the different colors where it talks about the impacts all the way down to the hole in A&E Drive. Furthermore, this is a map that was used of the alleged impact area. While I was on site, I really spent most of my time on the first floor in the Navy Operations Center looking through this area. I was also in these areas right through here. I did go up into other areas, but I can't recall what floor that actually was. But the part that really set me off, I guess you could say just the scene that stuck with me down the road that didn't make any sense, was this scene right here, this area that I'm circling. Now, as you can see, it was completely away from the path of the plane. However, the way that we found these bodies in here was just absolutely disturbing, made absolutely no sense. And so this is where I'm going to start to do this. Okay, this is the picture that I thought I added. I added some slides today, and that's why they're not loading. And so this is one of the things that I wanted to talk about. This is one of the new things, one of the several things. But this comes from the Naval History and Heritage Command. It was taken on September 12th, it says it right here, 2001. These are Army soldiers. I believe this right here, this guy that I'm circling, is my platoon sergeant, my former platoon sergeant. But one of my biggest complaints from the 11th on, outside of what I did not see in this area right here, is that when we got on site, and here you can see the picture was taken on the 12th, we weren't really doing anything. It was like, hurry up and wait. So we signed non-disclosures, big national tragedy, mass murder, all this stuff. We get there and it's like, we're sitting in tents. We're not doing shit. And so that right there is proof. I don't know how to break it down, but we were held back for multiple days. And so we didn't even start to get inside the building for a few days. And so when we actually did get inside the building, I think this is where it's going to start to load up. Okay, here we go. These are the types of things we saw. And of course, you know, the pictures that are public have been released by the feds and other agencies that are, in my humble opinion, guilty of this, because if they were to actually release all the pictures, you would see pictures of the bodies that I saw. And I'm going to show you guys a testimony describing that in a little bit. But these are the types of suits that we wore. We wore Tyvek suits. We wore breathing apparatuses to make sure we weren't breathing anything in. There was still a hell of a lot of water. They dumped so much water on this, and I think that was to basically just destroy the crime scene, that we had to wear these types of boots. We had to put tape on them because we were at some points walking in water that was up to our calf. And then here on the inside, you can see people removing rubble. Well, you know, this is the kind of shit that makes absolutely no sense to me. And there's other testimonies that back it up, but, you know, just a bunch of crap that's just all over the place in between these pillars, you know, and it just looked like a bunch of old, destroyed office furniture, a bunch of construction, you know, rubble. I mean, and people don't realize, like, that part of the Pentagon was undergoing a major renovation at that point in time. And so, you know, if we're going to see, you know, a Boeing 757, it's going to look pretty obvious. And, you know, it never did. But really, it was this scene right here that stuck with me. And I'm like I said, I'm gonna get to that. But kind of going through here, you know, some of the pictures that a lot of you have probably seen that are still available, you know, make absolutely no sense. You know, and while I was on there, let me make it very clear. Let me just state it clearly. And I've been saying this for a very long time. I would say, if I had to guess, I've been saying these things since about 2009, 2008, somewhere in that neighborhood, that while I was on site for that 240 hours, I never once saw a body that looked like it was on a plane. I never saw anything that looked like it was a plane part. Never saw anything that looked like luggage. Everything that I saw seemed to be a person that had been killed inside the building. And so when we go to pictures like this, where we can see, you know, all these people that allegedly died and all these remains that were allegedly found, you know, I then looked at stuff like this and I remember what my eyes saw, and clearly, you know, that was really, you know, where the big problem lied. It was always something that haunted me. It just didn't make any sense. And ultimately, you know, when I started to talk about these things in 2008, 9, and 10, that's when my friends were starting to get killed in conflict years after this thing had occurred. And so, you know, I was really starting to get pissed off then. I mean, it was one of those things where it legitimately took me a little bit just to understand how malevolent, you know, our government really is and what is actually happening. So I said that I would give you guys kind of a testimony from somebody describing that boardroom of those 6 individuals. And so I've been able to find one. I haven't talked about this very much, but this was a testimony that was done by the Arlington Public Library. And this was by a gentleman named Charles Gibbs. He was one of the captains of the Arlington County Fire Department. And people don't realize this, Arlington County is one of the most elite fire departments in the country. So these people are great. And this gentleman, Captain Gibbs, he was in charge of the training program there. So he is not only like a leader within this professional organization, but he's also teaching people about how to be killer firefighters. And he said during this, you know, on page 18, just a few side notes that just enlightened to me and Chief Gray, particularly because we were at the heliport. A lady that works for the Pentagon, works in the explosives area, and how explosives affect human behavior and things that happened, explained how the deaths occurred at the Pentagon. Because fire people reported they found people sitting at a table like this, just sitting there like they did not know. And she explained that the impact of the plane sent such a concussion inward that it sucks the air out of your system 100% immediately. She said that explains how they found people with no signs. That's what happens. She said it's instant, just by force, because they found probably a lot, just like they were sleeping. That was interesting to find out the reasons. She said that was a very common thing of how that happens. So I don't know if you guys can see me right now, but I'm sitting here in my chair, and this is how some of these people were. You know, so if any of you have ever been burnt,
can you show that again? I was hiding the speakers while you were. If you could show that again. Okay. So that's how they were.
Well, one of them, most of them like this. You know, they were like this. You know, one of them was kind of like under the chair, like that. But if we're on fire, you know, freaking out, like, you know, stop, drop, and roll. Like these people, the one specifically that stuck with me the most, he was still in his chair. He was upright. Half of his face was melted. And I'm saying melted. It's because, I mean, if something's burned and it's melted, I don't know if that makes sense, but it looks different. And then the other side of his face seemed to have like no problem. And then if you looked all over this boardroom, you could see that some parts of it obviously showed that there was extremely high levels of heat, and some parts had, you know, no signs whatsoever. And so, you know, I break down the witness testimonies in a number of different ways. I look for the testimonies of multiple explosions, which there are several. I look for the testimonies of fireballs, which there are several. And so, you know, how did this boardroom that had walls, several walls in between it and the alleged impact zone and the path of the alleged plane, how did it affect the people like this? And furthermore, how did this gentleman, who was a professional with several years under his belt, not even, you know, he didn't even know what the hell he was looking at. So, you know, and then we've got, furthermore, you know, this woman, this explosives expert, this woman that's running around the scene, basically talking about, you know, why that occurred, trying to basically tell people, oh yeah, you're professional firefighters, but this is why this happened. So that's one thing that I talk about. You know, if you don't believe me, then look at this testimony and ask him. He was a pro. Furthermore, I love this gentleman. This is one of my buddies. I haven't spoken to him since the Alpha Company days, but anybody that was an Alpha Company at this point in time knows Matt Colton. And I just go to his specific testimony. You know, he talks about how it took him a few days to get on site because we were all kind of rolling in at different times. But again, on the morning of September 11th, we were preparing for Spirit of America. We had to go back, you know, to our base, and we got to the fish market and eventually had to get out of the buses and travel by foot because it was so gridlocked. Well, this sentence right here is kind of like what I came away with for the longest time. I was just like, you know, I expected more damage, you know, but the building held up better than, you know, we expected. And furthermore, he also said, you know, one of his strongest memories will be that the way the building held up in spite of being hit by an aircraft. And so I say that because, like, you know, that's kind of the overall mentality that everybody had. They just were like, I expected more. And I've talked to a lot of people in my unit, and they break down to three categories. The smallest group of people, and there are a couple people who genuinely believe that they saw airplane parts. I say to myself, though, you know, what do you think you saw? Have you ever touched airplane parts before? Do you have any working experience with these things? And of course, none of them do. One gentleman thought he saw an airplane door. I keep getting a Skype. Do you guys hear words? I mean, keep getting. Oh, well, I don't know if you guys hear things. But one gentleman said.
Sorry to interject. I'm just helping MES to just fix the screen for the people, but it was a bit delayed, but he did get it fixed. So
okay. Oh, good. I just kept hearing Skype messages. I'm like, dang, what's going on? But so yeah. So.
I still muted.
Says that they,
sorry. I just want to chime in. I was muted. I was trying to talk, but I was muted. The Skype thing it's still not fixed. I don't know how to hide it. I've been just I've been just putting it over the YouTube chat over it. But
okay.
Can Norman, can you tell me how to get rid of this thing? I don't know how to get rid of this chat thingy. I tried. I just don't know how to do it anymore.
Yeah, the way you had it was fine. So just hide the chat. With the chat.
Because I looked online and it's like the instructions don't actually show it for mine. It's like nothing shows up. It just doesn't. Instructions say go to view and click it, but there's nothing there. So anyways, so we'll figure that out. Yeah, so don't worry about it. I'll just go like that. Okay, you can speak again, and yeah.
Yeah. So there's three groups that basically kind of, when it comes to the people that I've talked to from my company, the first group, like I said, a couple people think they saw parts. One guy thinks he saw an airplane door, which nobody's ever reported that or said anything about it. Another person said he thought he saw a chair. Well, it's like, okay, well, there's a lot of chairs on an airplane. Did you see another one? Or was it an office chair? The second group of people kind of fall into this group of they really can't remember it quite a bit. They've compartmentalized it, which is actually a byproduct of post-traumatic stress disorder. The third group of people kind of falls into my group. They're like, I don't remember seeing a damn thing. They just don't want to push it. Well, I don't say they. Most of them don't want to push it the way I've pushed it. That's not the case with some of them. And you guys are going to meet some of those guys down the road. But additional anomalies. And I want to ask a question. Can you guys see like a bunch of like my Macintosh things right here? Or is that just my computer showing this?
I can see it. I can see it.
You can? Okay. Well,
now it's gone. Now it's gone. Okay.
I'm like, why the hell won't those go away? Okay. So additional anomalies, making it very clear, didn't see any planes, didn't see any plane parts, didn't see anything. Fast forward a little bit. We were there, like I said, approximately 240 hours. That was me from the 11th to the 30th. Once our duty on site was over, a interesting incident happened, and several of you guys probably know about the anthrax incidents that went along with the 9/11 attacks. Well, my base, Alpha Company, Fort McNair, got an anthrax attack. And this is a lace statement that was done by one of my buddies in my unit that I used in my Veterans Administration case to show, because a lot of people were traumatized by this event. Basically, all of a sudden, we were told not long after the attack that anthrax had been found not only in our barracks, but then they not only on our base, but in our barracks mailroom. They put a cordon around the mailroom to where you couldn't get in there. Our mail was being sent through a process that was completely destroying it and nuking it to make it like it was going through this high heat process. And as quickly as it happened, as like all this information came to us, it kind of just went away without an explanation whatsoever. And it kind of scared the shit out of a lot of people. And so a lot of people were like, we can hear about all these anthrax attacks, but now it's in our barracks. Like, what? So that's another thing that I'm trying to get an explanation on, because there's no historical record of that. I haven't been able to find it, at least. Side note, of course, I asked Barbara Honegger, this supposed pillar of 9/11 truth, about, who are the anthrax experts in the 9/11 truth movement? And she said, well, of course, the Lawyers Inquiry for 9/11, or the Lawyers Committee for 9/11 Inquiry, we are. And I said, well, hey, Barbara, would you like some information on an anthrax attack on American soil where there's no historical reference? And of course, she never bit down harder on that. So I'm digging into that much deeper, but that's an anomaly. My teammates and I have come up with a few different reasons why they think that happened. A, maybe they wanted to kill us and get rid of us, but I don't think any other company in the old guard over at Fort Myer was hit with anthrax. But B, maybe they wanted to further traumatize us so that we would have a difficult time kind of grasping what we did and didn't see not too long before serving at the Pentagon. One of my other teammates also said that he thinks that they wanted to get into our mail and start reading it. And that was a good way for them to do that. If we look at these incidents, these problem reaction solution incidents, where these entities are basically doing things waiting for the reaction that they are, trying to get, and then offering the solution. I think that, there was a lot of different protocols and procedures and a lot of different money that was invested into getting to basically, after the anthrax issue, responding to it. And so perhaps they wanted to, spit anthrax all over the place so that they could further usher in these other measures. I don't know. All I know is that there was an anthrax attack at my base, and nobody in the 9/11 Truth Movement seems to give a shit about it outside of me. Anomaly. So further on down the line, in 2009, I was having some problems, you guys. I have no problem admitting that I have post-traumatic stress disorder from the event. That doesn't make me any lesser of a person, and anybody with that doesn't make them any lesser of degree. But I say these things because there's a lot of people out there that have not addressed this issue personally. And so if you were one of these people that were at the Pentagon, contact me. I will get you in touch with the VA. I will make sure that your trials are as little as possible. We'll get you into the system and get you the help you need. But in 2009, I started to speak to a therapist. I was having some difficulties. I wanted to get to the bottom of things. And I went to the VA, and I went into the system, and I basically tried to get enrolled, and I applied for benefits, all these other things. Well, in 2 years after I started to get involved in this process, they basically denied me because the Veterans Administration stated that they could not find my active duty service records, with exception to a few different items. So they denied my claim, which is interesting because I had already at that point in time used my entire GI Bill. So they knew at one point when I was applying for benefits for the education that I was in. Well, when I was applying to, get some help from the VA to start getting, some psychological counseling, something, all of a sudden my records are nowhere to be found. So my trials and tribulations with the VA took 13 years, and in two different occasions, I filed 2 different records requests. Once in 2017, that's what you guys see right here, and then once again in 2019. You can see the dates right here. They can give me a few different things. They can give me some documents from the Military Entrance Processing Station, the MEPS. They can give me some stuff from when I was at PLDC, that's the Primary Leadership Development course, but that's about it. So where in the hell is my documentation? I served in a pretty high capacity. I'm not the only person in my unit that can say these things, that they served at the Pentagon too. They can't find their records either, and they're doing the same types of searches that I can. And so where in the hell are our records? That's an anomaly. And now, the anomaly of all anomalies, what changed my life and basically redirected everything altogether, the thing that I think is going to alter the course of 9/11 investigation worldwide, is this gentleman right here, Carmen Lee Wheelbarger. Now, this ugly mug that you are looking at right now, you're probably thinking to yourself, like, okay, how? Well, this gentleman was allegedly part of the response effort, and you can see that right here. He is in the yellow shirt on top of his Supercat military vehicle, directing this gentleman right here. This gentleman's name is Keith Sladen. And the gentlemen right here that are working with Lee are members of the Air Force One ground crew. That's right, you heard that correctly. According to Lee Wheelbarger, the Air Force One ground crew was assigned personally to him. So this vehicle is also an anomaly because it is an English military vehicle, and I have Lee Wheelbarger on record bragging about how he was able to get past the Department of State just by installing a few different things on there and turning this military vehicle into a firefighting vehicle. But these types of pictures were absolutely 100% unauthorized. And I've got several of Lee just like this. This came from his archive, and I'm going to show you how I got to them. And I personally believe that when you take all the work that we previously discussed and all the facts that we previously discussed, not the opinions, but the evidence, this gentleman and his team, if we were going to have real 9/11 conspiracy, we would need to have foot soldiers on the ground. We would need to have them operating in a way that made no sense, doing things that they weren't authorized to do. Their arrival and their exit of the facility, of the premises, would have to not add up. And I can say to you guys, to all of you that are listening right now, that since 2021, when I initially stumbled into this guy, up until now, I've been able to collect just that. And so let's get into how I did that. Back in 2021, I gave a talk with this gentleman right here. His name is Jason Shurka. This video is no longer available, and that just came down the pike recently. There's a reason for that, and I'm going to start discussing it for the first time publicly right now. When I originally went to Jason, it was at the recommendation of one of my Instagram followers. She had basically said that Jason was a pretty active person in the truth spectrum. This was back when COVID was really kicking off and getting crazy and a lot of stupid shit was happening. And she recommended, she's like, send this guy your documents and see if he'll have you on. And that's exactly what I did. And I went on. I was extremely green at the time. I thought that all I would have to do was just talk about what I didn't see, and that my experience as a person, with extensive amount of time, in addition to the parts experience, I thought that was really going to matter. And so, I'm going to re-release this video. It's no longer on anymore, and there's a reason for that. Basically, I caught my big break, and this went from, just being a firsthand witness to an investigator based on this event. But I basically I told Jason what I had stumbled on. I told him kind of where I was heading. I said, Jason, I want to get to the bottom of this. Give me some time. And over the course of a couple years, I saw this gentleman start to exhibit some interesting behaviors, some ties to Israel, and basically he started to kind of pull away from me as I got, closer and closer and closer to finding the answers and the evidence that I'm getting now. And so I don't trust this gentleman any further than I can throw him. He expressed a lot of respect towards me in the presentation and then started to back away after. He offered me a spot on a censorship-free platform that he was putting together, which I accepted. I didn't get too heavily involved into it, and that platform ended up going by the wayside. But this guy started a big network. I mean, he's still very much out there. And he's making a lot of trips back and forth to Israel in the last couple years. The man offered Tucker Carlson a $150 million contract to come on his television network. I was like, whoa. But really, when I started to question this guy about why he was backing away from me, he started to respond in a very interesting way. But I don't want to get too ahead of myself. When you guys read my book, you're going to see all this stuff, and you're going to see evidence of this. But I caught my very big break on this gentleman's podcast, and I'm going to show you guys how. You go down to the comments section, and it's, there were comments like this all over the place. Isn't Lee Wheelbarger the guy who was in charge of logistics support between the 11th to the 17th? I'm sure he was. I'll call him. Well, that's when I went to the Arlington County After Action Report. I looked up logistics, and here it says right here, Chief Bonzano, Chief Swartz assigned Chief White the task of organizing logistics support. Whatever they need, you get it. Chief White toured the Pentagon South parking lot and chose a site he thought was large enough to serve as the logistics staging center. So this person was under the impression that Lee Wheelbarger was in charge of logistics support. I found out right then and there that was not the case. Going even further, on the 24-hour timeline, you can look this stuff up. It's all right there. Chief Schwartz directs Chief White to establish a logistics section at 1:30. It was not Lee Wheelbarger. Some people on that comment section even wrote, thought Lee Wheelbarger was in charge that day. No, that was James Schwartz. You know, and we even then go to the 24-hour timeline, and we see here that Assistant Chief James Schwartz arrives and assumes incident command. Okay, so then look who shows up at this comment section, Lee Wheelbarger. So you can see it right here. Hello, Adam. Please let me know what works for you, and I will fit it into my schedule. And I was very respectful in the beginning. It's a pleasure to meet you, Lee. I would love to speak with you at your convenience. What would be the best way to get in touch with you? Here's my email address. If you'd like to send me your information, thank you for your willingness to speak. Well, that was the day. That night, little did I know it, Lee Wheelbarger is, at the time, his YouTube was called Inventor Lee Wheelbarger, but he was actually providing a paid news source called KLW World News. And he was pretty much positioning himself as this former techno spook, high-level Department of Defense, high level, in the know on everything, kind of military industrial complex guy with access to things and to people all over the place. Well, we very quickly went from very nice, and then during his live YouTube broadcast, to absolutely shitting all over me. And it made absolutely no sense when I came across this, you know, but I have this video saved. Unfortunately, this video is no longer public because this channel in Lee's arsenal has been taken down since. We're going to get to that in a second. But he said a lot of things in this video. And so I suspected that I was going to encounter some type of opposition, but he was going in an entirely different direction, making statements that were so easily disproven that it was literally, it took no effort. Motherfuckering me, applying what I call, or excuse me, what I later found to be the 25 rules of disinformation. You know, here's another screenshot. You know, he literally, in the middle of his news broadcast on YouTube, he went to Jason's comment section and just wrote, I was there, and your guest has no idea what he's talking about. Here is my video. Where is his? I would be happy to debate him any day of the week, challenging me to a debate, even though in that video, he basically, you know, had no idea what in the hell I was talking about. You know, basically right there, you know, everything was cool. And then all of a sudden, 11 hours later, you can see right here, you know, he's starting to come at me. And so it's like, okay, this makes no sense. What in the hell is this? Well, if you're involved in the truth game, I invite you to take pause and go to this website right here, or even just Google the 25 ways to suppress the truth. This is the way that the David Chandlers of the world and the Richard Gages of the world and all these other people, this is the way that they operate. And so I wasn't surprised to find Lee Wheelbarger also, you know, doing these things when I started to learn about, you know, what in the hell was happening. So in this video, when he started to shit on me, he also pulled up his resume, and you can see here, and this is why I am so fucking interested in being with the directed energy weapons crowd. Here we go. Lee Wheelbarger has over 30 years experience in RDT&E of military electronics and weapons systems. And if you guys want to go down and start reading this, you know, all of his different experiences, this guy was training our spec ops people on his ground. He was inventing weapons systems that they were using. This guy even claimed that at one point in time, he went to DARPA and he was given DARPA some information that he was trying to develop. And they said, according to him, that he was way too advanced for them. But this is the beginning of it, you guys. I've been saying to guys like Norman Matthew for a while, I've been inviting them to come take a look at my research. I've got this video saved. This is the first one. Electronic weapons systems, the types of things that were happening at the Pentagon, the types of things I saw, the types of things Norman was talking about, the types of things that Mark Conlon was talking about. We would need people with those types of backgrounds. And wouldn't you know it, here is Lee. Well, he also said some other interesting things in that video before he got to me. There was a comment by one person, somebody named me, though. By some chance, is there a relationship with Catherine Wheelbarger, U.S. Assistant Defense? Lee, if you don't mind me asking, it was about a year ago or so. She was talking about Russia, and he said, and I've still got this recorded, of course there's a relationship with Catherine Wheelbarger. Well, let's take a look at her. Catherine Wheelbarger has held a lot of different positions as she has very, very, very quickly ascended up the ranks from her days in college. She worked for, she was the former Assistant Secretary of Defense. She worked with guys like McCain, here she worked, Richard Cheney. She's, this is the dead ringer. She also worked directly with Secretary Chertoff. I'm not saying that this woman is doomed because Lee said that, he's got a relationship, but his name's Wheelbarger, her last name is Wheelbarger. I've only been able to get through YouTube conversations that this is his niece. But I say to myself, how deeply entrenched into our apparatuses is the cabal? Tulsi Gabbard said that the cabal is part of the entity that's operating and running our country. Well, if you look up this woman, you're going to see here that, in 2020, she was the Pentagon's top foreign policy official, and she resigned. She was giving keynote speeches about intelligence happenings all throughout the world. These happenings were being made into policy by politicians. So who in the hell is this woman? And why is this guy at the Pentagon saying that he's got relationships with her and that of course I've got a relationship with her? Well, digging deeper into Catherine, this is where it gets really interesting. She resigned 6 days after having her name pulled for the department's #2 intelligence role. And here's where it gets crazy. The White House staffers basically said that she resigned and there were loyalty concerns. Basically President Donald Trump had loyalty concerns over this woman. And so if there is one question I would love to ask Donald Trump, it is, can you please elaborate on the loyalty concerns you had to this woman? Because, if she's connected to people like Lee Wheelbarger, then that makes a hell of a lot of sense. So hopefully I get to ask him that question one day. But if you look deeper into this woman, of course, you're going to see a lot of things. And of course, you're also going to see that she has now went over to the private sector, 2 years and 8 months ago, a long time ago, she's been, since September 21, over at Lockheed Martin serving as a vice president. But that's not it. Here's some other positions that she also held in her very quick ascension through the ranks. So if she has served Biden, Kasich, Bush, Chertoff, and then she has, she's up under Trump and Trump's got loyalty concerns to her, what do you think is going to happen when Biden comes in? Do you think he's going to want to have her? Well, on May 6, 2022, he nominated her to the United States Institution of Peace. That is an institution that was created by Reagan and a couple of senators. And not only did he nominate her for that, he gave her privileged nomination, gave her a very quick review, get her through there quickly. Her confirmation was sent through very quickly. And now this woman serves on the board of directors at the United States Institution of Peace. And so, I ask people that support Donald Trump, if Donald's going to drain the swamp, did he really drain it? He left the institutions that can allow people like this just to come in and start handpicking people and putting them into places. So, did he really drain the swamp? Who are these people? Tulsi talked about who is really running the show. This is the military industrial complex. This is a woman that worked for the government and then went back and forth, between the government and these other agencies, and now she's working for a for-profit institution. So what up with that? They say war is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. So it doesn't surprise me that this woman is now serving at the institution of peace. But I don't want to get too heavy into her, but it's like, if Lee's claiming that he's connected to these people, we would have to have connections. If there's real conspiracy, these connections would have to still be alive today, well past 9/11. And so who is Lee Wheelbarger? Who is this guy that, the day that I stumbled into him was so nice. Yeah, sure. Come on over. I'd love to have you. And then all of a sudden he's, destroying me on his live broadcast. Well, I started to dig into this guy and I started to find out what he was into. I started to see that he had, lots of patents, 30 years of research and development, test and evaluation, and battery-centered hybrid-powered systems, electronics, cough, energy, weapons, systems, cough. You guys, I'm going to show you down the line that this guy, with his own words, has, talks about his proximity and his access and his using energy weapons systems. So here we are. This was his website, KLW World News. You can see that at one point he was charging quite a bit for his shit. I don't know if he's still charging that much, but this is what he was charging. And at one point in time, he was operating a number of different YouTube channels. He's no longer operating this one, and I give myself credit for taking that down. I'll show you guys what happens. This was his biggest YouTube channel. He had about 10.5 million views. He had 56,000 subscribers. That channel had been going for quite some time. Well, in the last 6 months, every time I give a speech, I basically go to him whenever he's in front of a live audience. So he if that's the day before the speech or the day of the speech, I pretty much go to his channel and I'm like, hey, asshole, I'm talking about you again. And so I was really quiet in 2023, but then in 2024, I started to kind of really hammer down and talk about the things that I'm going to be showing you guys. So his biggest channel that had all this evidence that I'm showing you guys, like I gave a similar presentation to what I'm giving now. And within a matter of like less than 30 days, he killed his channel. If you go to his old channel, it basically said that this account is terminated because we received multiple third-party claims of copyright infringement. So how did you go operating since 2009? And then, in the last few months when I give a presentation and when I really started to talk about what I'm doing, all of a sudden his shit just gets hit with copyright infringement. So yeah, I took his ass down. This is all that he has left. He also operates in a number of different ways. He's currently on Buy Me a Coffee. That's really where he's trying to go with his news service. This was taken a while ago. When I took this screenshot, he had 861 members. He was charging $5 and $10 for his news. When I took it a little bit later on down the line, like a couple months, his membership had changed. He charged more, getting a lot more members. And so that's his strategy right now. He's basically funding his little news charade, from people. But you can also see he's got multiple Rumble channels where he does live news on a regular basis. He calls it news. But what I believe that this gentleman is really doing is psyoping the world. Right now, we have a lot of shit going on in places like Israel and Ukraine. Well, this gentleman loves, as you can see, to spread a lot of World War III messages, a lot of pro-Israel messages, and a lot of pro-Ukraine messages. We're going to get into all that. Some copies of, just his channels. He is on Twitter. He has blocked me. This was his old news channel. It got suspended. He's got a lot of different places that he does things. Patreon. So that was April 24th, 2021. I stumbled on him. I started to look into him. 1 month later, I didn't know how in the hell I was going to approach this guy. The only thing that I could tell, however, is that he hated to be challenged, especially when he was on live broadcasts. And so, as you guys remember, I said, hey, Lee, I would love to talk to you. I gave him a month to respond to me, and I said, if he does not respond in a month, I'm going to go back to the Jason Shurka video, and I'm just going to go down to the comments section, and I'm going to put on every single spot, this guy's been running from me. And that's exactly what I did. You know, every single person, every single one of his little fanboys that came to my spot, or excuse me, to Jason Shurka's page, you know, I basically went down the line, just said, hey, Lee's comment's still here, as is mine. Haven't heard from him. Why is he ducking me? You know, and I started to see that he was even deleting comments on there. You know, I thought at one point in time we were going to be, you know, Lee and I were going to be, you know, linked up and, you know, arranging a time to speak. He seemed to be interested to speak. But then I basically went down, as you guys can see here, and said he's had my information for a month. You know, I still haven't heard back from him. You know, again, you know, I would usually, you know, lead people to this point in time, but you know, you can't even get to this video anymore because Jason Shurka took it down. Here you got somebody, Dr. Judy did a ton of research. She is definitely great. Somebody's giving Dr. Judy a shout out. But right then, wouldn't you know it, as I was typing like all these things, he happened to be on a live broadcast. And right then and there in the moment, people that were being dinged when I was talking were passaging messages onto him. And right then and there, he, you know, this was the second time that he just went off on me for over an hour this time, just questioning my honor, challenging me to a debate, repeating several easily proven lies about himself, about everything, and continually employing the 25 rules of disinformation against me. So this is a second video this summer that I'm going to be breaking down and making, you know, I'm putting it up there. I'm giving it to the energy weapons guys. I'm going to let them take a look at it all. But I'm in the process of putting these videos all together. You guys will be able to see. I'm going to be doing a pause and play breakdown of all this stuff. But you're going to be able to see this guy and the way that he was basically responding to all this. So what happened? That was May 24th. Well, at that point in time, I knew that this guy was it. He had been basically, if you went to his YouTube channel at that point in time, he had loaded it up with a bunch of official narrative stuff. Any time that anybody challenged him, it was the same exact thing over and over and over and over again. And so finally, on September 10th, 2021, I decided that I was going to do a pause and play breakdown, and this is still right now available on my Instagram account. You just got to go back to it. But I did a pause and play breakdown of this tirade of his, this video right here. And in my Instagram video, I showed the world just how easily you can debunk this man. And I said, look, I don't know who the hell this guy is, but he's got a lot of specialized weapons experience. He's using, you know, lies and deception, you know, and he's claiming he's the head of logistics. Like, if you were the head of logistics, how did you not know that there were hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of old guard soldiers there? And furthermore, like, why are you using such ridiculous and such desperate maneuvers to try to make me look stupid? So I broke it down, and you guys can go look. Well, he showed up and saying, hey, go get some help. You really need it. So not attacking the information that I was totally debunking, attacking me. And then, of course, he said, you know, I have no idea who you are, nor do I care, even though he was writing me a month before that. And then, of course, he said, how dare you talk about my wife? Well, in his video right here, his wife started running her mouth about me, saying that I had no honor. And so in this pause and play video, I spoke directly to her, and he did not like that. That was on September 10th, 2021. Well, as fate would have it, the very next day, and I think this was because, you know, Lee and I had been having this back and forth, you know, leading up to this moment. On the 20th anniversary of the incident, Lee took it upon himself to create, as you guys can see here, an 8-hour, 43-minute, and 37-second documentary. He called it the most complete documentary on September 11th that you will ever see. Now, I have a copy of this. My research team has a copy of this. The directed energy weapons guys are going to have a copy of this very soon. But this, in essence, was Lee's impossible timeline. If we were going to have conspiracy, there would need to be people there, and their arrivals would make no sense, and their exit would make no sense. And this is where I got it. I don't know, you guys, if he was doing that because he was trying to combat me and establish the ground, and maybe he had an idea about how strongly I believed in this and how far I was going to push it. I don't know. But when we study mass murderers, we also can learn that in a lot of circumstances, these people like to brag. And in this, and the world will have a copy of this. I am going to do a pause and play breakdown of all of this as well. All of this will be in my book, in my audio book. He shot himself in the foot, the ankle, the knee, the toe, and eventually he put himself out. And as you can see, 6 hours into this thing, I finally said, I don't have to listen to this anymore. I pulled away and I went live on my Instagram. And I just said, you guys, game, set, match. My cup runs over. I knew at that point in time that this guy was it. That this guy was it. And at that point in time, I changed my life. I had in 2020 a real estate company. I put it down. I quit doing real estate. In 2021, I got a little shitty job at a warehouse, and I started to deliver food on the nights and weekends because I knew this guy was it. And I wanted to go after him. I wanted to expose him. And I didn't know how that was going to look, but I knew it was going to take some time. So I just said to myself, I just need to keep challenging him now. I need to do a breakdown of this video, which I've done. And I said, I just need to keep applying pressure. Well, then fast forward, that was September 11th, 2021, December 5th, 2021. Lee Wheelbarger said that he would debate me on the subject anytime, anywhere. All I had to do was show up. Well, December 5th, 2021, a couple of light workers and I did just that. We showed up, infiltrated his chat during a live broadcast, and in that moment, one of his moderators basically gave me moderator access. And I started dropping like all sorts of links. I dropped a link to my pause and play video on Instagram. As you guys can see here, I was saying to him, I was like, go live with me right now, and he refused to do it. He refused to do it so badly that he eventually faked a medical emergency and he exited the newscast. I have this on record. I still have this. Of course, he saves all of his newscasts, but he didn't save this one. So remember, this is December 5th. So let's prove that. This is a screenshot of his old news channel. Here it is, December 4th. Yep.
Can I possibly interject? I've just shared on the chat inside that video of Wheelbarger way back when with all the directed energy and the military stuff. So if you want, MES can play it later. Ooh. So I downloaded it from YouTube so it can't disappear. So just so that you know.
That's why you're Springbok. That's why I love you. Thank you, sir. By the way, I gave Norman a Orion Project call sign. Matthew's going to get one too. We're going to do that tonight.
All right. Epic.
But so anyways, you guys, that was December 5th. So this is a screenshot from his news channel. This was December 4th. This was December 4th. Then this is December 10th. Why didn't Lee save the December 5th broadcast where he ran like a bitch and faked a medical emergency? And so moving right along, I decided I was going to rub that right into his face. And if you go to my Instagram page, you can still see here that I was talking shit to him on my Instagram, trying to get him to go live with me. Here we go. He said that, that I sent it, or let me see here. Yeah, I never sent you an email. And, basically he's trying to say that, I was full of shit, that he didn't know who I was. I told him, I said, you're more than welcome to come and join my live and somehow dig your way out of the mess that you created. Let's go. And basically he said, he's like, fuck you, I'm done with you. And I said, no, you aren't globalists, not by a long shot. I can assure you this is just the beginning, and this was back in 2021. And I told him, I said, you're through, inventor. Well, and then he of course said, you're full of shit. Show some proof that you were there and a plane didn't hit the Pentagon. And I said, absolutely not a problem. And then I basically said, okay, this is on my Instagram. Recently, inventor Lee Wheelbarger asked me to show proof, that I was at the Pentagon and that a plane never hit the building. Too easy, inventor, too easy. And so that's what I did. I did just that. You can still see this on my Instagram. If you go to Exposing Lee Wheelbarger Chapter 2, December 6, 2021, I pulled up his 20th anniversary video, and I did another pause and play of that. And I specifically did a breakdown of areas of the Pentagon that were damaged, according to him, by plane rotors. So I did a pause and play breakdown using his words, and it's still available. And you can see, go there tonight, listen to it. How easily it is to debunk him. In this pause and play video, I catch him trying to defy physics. I catch him lying about all the parts that he personally, carried out of there. And just, go listen to that. If anybody has Instagram, go there tonight, listen to that. So that was, another video where he never responded to anything. And that was December 6, 2021, checkmated him. Nothing. Well, another break that I got, and this is where I'm going to have to send you a video, Matthew. So there's a gentleman that I do not like whatsoever, and we have a big time history, and I could probably I'm going to have to write a chapter on this guy alone when my book comes out, but his name is Adam Fitzgerald.
Wait. Adam, just before you get to that, I just remembered and I went and checked my file. That 8-hour tirade that he went on.
Yep.
That's now off his website or his channel. That's gone.
I've got it though.
I also got it. So
nice.
Yeah. Okay, sorry for interjecting.
That, very nice. Okay, well, Adam Fitzgerald claims that he is a truth activist, and everybody that's a truth activist in the 9/11 world, I kind of use the term routes, like a climber would use, climbing a mountain. Some people think that one route is better than another. And so he goes the geopolitical route. Well, I think that a lot of the geopolitical routed people are counterintelligence operators. And so, Adam gave an interview to James Schwartz, the incident commander. And this was February 6, 2022. This was after, I kind of knew who Lee was. At this point in time, I already knew who Adam Fitzgerald was. We had been going back and forth. He originally came to me, I think, at the demands of David Chandler, Ken Jenkins, one of those guys, Elaine Coasty. He originally kind of attacked my YouTube, but there's a long history there. I just wanted to say that because a lot of people that study this know Adam Fitzgerald, and I'm not promoting this guy's work at all. In fact, he's one of the individuals that has been running from me in debate for years now. And furthermore, what makes him worse is that he lies about our debate challenge. He claims that I've been running from him when I've got proof that couldn't be further from the truth. But he interviewed James Schwartz in a video, and I'm going to have Matthew play that video really quickly. Starting from the 59-minute and 19-second mark. I'm going to send this.
All right. Yeah, okay, I got your message, and let's see, I'll play this one right here. Okay, where's the chat? There's the chat. Okay, interview James Schwartz. Copy link. Oh,
and I'll tell you where to pause it, but yeah, start at the 59:19 mark.
All right. I'll play it right here. Okay,
We'll intervene.
Okay, okay, I'll just, 1 second. How do I get back to the Skype? Okay.
Do you need me to give you access or anything?
Oh, no, I was just trying to find Skype. Okay, I'm on it now. Okay, interview with James Schwartz. Okay, you can see my screen?
I can't. Do I need to get out of my screen sharing?
Oh no, but can you see my screen? I'm sharing my screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So everything's fine. So where do I go to?
5919.
I get 5919. All right.
Yep, and hit pause once you get there. But so
is that?
Oh yeah.
In this episode, the incident commander is going to talk about Lee Wheelbarger. Now, Lee claimed that he spent more time on site than any human being, and in his 20th anniversary release, he just talked about how he got there, and it just made absolutely not a bit of sense whatsoever. But James Schwartz, the incident commander now, is going to say what he has to say about Lee Wheelbarger, and then we're going to get confirmation in an email screenshot. So go ahead and hit play. I'll tell you when to stop it.
All right, sounds good.
When we established from the first moments that effective working relationship, meaning the fire department and the FBI, and let me not skip over the fact that one of the first people that I met when I arrived at the Pentagon was John Jester, the chief of the Defense Practice Service. And John has no illusions, no misgivings about what I'm doing there. He knows exactly what I'm going to do. He knows exactly who's going to be in charge of this. Yes, he's in charge of law enforcement at the Pentagon, but this event totally exceeds his expertise and resources. And so he knows right away from that pre-established relationship what he can count on me for. That coming together, that some people will call it a command presence. The fact that we had that in just the first moments, I think sent a powerful signal to everybody that this is how this is going to work. And we are not going to put up with efforts to tear this apart. I'm not going to tell you that there weren't people that had different agendas, right? We had one particular case where a person who works for another federal agency,
talking about Lee,
that has little, if anything, to do with emergency response. But he declared at a certain point early in the response that because this was federal land, he was in charge. He was quickly escorted off the scene because he did not have any authority. He did not have an equity in terms of, what we were contending with here. So it wasn't that there weren't some people making small efforts to, I can't even say they could be in the category of tearing it down. It wasn't that there was no friction, because there was here and there, but we coalesced around how we were going to manage this incident in a united way that just gave no space for those efforts.
Pause.
We had people coming from elsewhere.
All right, yeah.
Okay. So, I wanted confirmation, who was that? And lo and behold, I got just that from Adam Fitzgerald. There was a point, and it's gone on and off and on and off, when he wasn't motherfuckering me or trying to, discredit me, that we did try to talk. But, I confirmed right here, Wheelbarger didn't make anything difficult, actually. And then, this is exactly what Schwartz said.
Oh, are you sharing still? Are you sharing still or no? I think because I was sharing. Now you got to share it.
Oh yeah, my bad. Let me do that, guys.
Okay.
Give me 1 sec. Share screen. Start sharing. Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. All my new slides. I have to do my news. I just put this slide in today. Okay. So I wrote to the gentleman that gave that interview, and he said, he was quoting Schwartz in an email. Schwartz asked who he was, and he explained that he had the tractor that was driving around the site, refueling generators and such. I told one of my aides, Doug Inslee, to take his contact info and we would get back to him. Sometime later, Doug came to me to say that he had contacted the man's employer, a federal agency located out west. He said the agency confirmed that he had worked for them, but they had no idea what he was doing at the Pentagon. I should note here that all federal resources assigned to the incident were assigned by FEMA at our request, and that self-dispatching contributed to our compromised security. The FBI escorted Mr. Wheelbarger off scene. Well, I went to Lee. I went to him, not long after. And I was like, okay, April 24th, April 14th, 2022. I told him, I got James Schwartz on record saying that you were escorted off the Pentagon. And of course I didn't need a little bit. And I told him he was full of shit. I said, why do you completely lie so much about your involvement there? And I just said, because he does not like to be challenged. I said, my research is extremely close. And what it is, I'll be asking you these questions in front of platforms you can't ignore. Admit your bullshit now, or else you will answer to the public. And then, of course, he says that he was returned to the site after doing so. And he said this publicly, and he was escorted off the Pentagon because of an identification mix-up, not because of anything to do with James Schwartz. So who's lying? Who's lying? And isn't the beautiful thing here that James Schwartz is the Arlington County fire chief right now? So I can go ask him this. I'm going to be doing that pretty soon. And of course, Lee then said to go fuck yourself, you stupid fuck. But of course, in that moment, I got lucky. He was having a live broadcast and he went off on me again. Now, of course, this was my old Twitter handle. But as you can see, he blocked me back in 2022. He was scared shitless of me then. And he's been running from me since. But even in this video, more, shooting himself with pre-authorization, showing him pictures of his teammates, showing evidence that incriminates him, like videos of him being there repeatedly. Like his only argument at this point was just, I was there and you weren't. And it's like, yes, Lee, we know you were there. Now I'm trying to get you to tell me who authorized you because your stories don't add up. So this is another video that I'm going to be dissecting for everybody sometime this year. I've got all this stuff. But there have been other incidents since April 14th, 2022. I'm not going to talk about those because they really give away the barn. I will tell you that the last incident that occurred, I gave Lee the nickname Star Fox. I loved the video game as a kid, but everybody gets a nickname, even the bad guys. And I called Lee Star Fox because, he is the star of the show and he was the fox that got his way into the hen house. And when I went on the Far Out with Faust podcast, not but a couple months ago, per usual, I've got screenshot evidence. I'm not going to show you guys all this. Don't want to get too deeply into it. But I said to Lee, I'm about to go on a pretty big podcast and I'm going to continue to fuck you up. And basically sent him, actually, no, I apologize. I went on the podcast and I sent him the video. And that's when things really got heated in the last, I would say, month and a half. If you go to his Rumble channel, you can see that he totally embraced the nickname I gave for him, Star Fox. He's now running around calling himself that. And furthermore, he then doxed me. So this guy is doing his due diligence. He knows where I live. He knows a lot about me. So I'm just going to say it, you guys. This shit is very real for me. If God forbid something happens, immediately, I am not asking you, I am telling you immediately to start screaming about this man right here. There's going to be a lot of evidence, videos, and things being broken down in the coming months. But, even here, evidence continues to show up. I was just recently on Instagram and on David Harris Jr.'s page. He said, one question, where's the plane? He was talking about the Pentagon. Well, there's a video that was making its way around the internet of, it was done on like a video camera and it was basically being filmed, shortly after the building, that portion of the building had collapsed. David Harris Jr. was playing that video. It is a video you can still look up. And in that video, it's almost like the person that was taking that video stopped and like zoomed in on Lee when he was like, he came into the screen and like, you can see the video, it like backs up. And so again, you know, pictures and video were like absolutely positively unauthorized. And so what in the hell is this guy doing running around with all these pictures and videos? But, you know, this right here, like Lee put this out himself on his Twitter in 2023. So James Schwartz said that this man was removed from the Pentagon by the FBI. Well, why then is Lee back at the Pentagon in his Super Cat military vehicle, you know, with the governor of the state of Virginia giving a tour of the grounds? And it wasn't on 9/12. I don't know why Lee put 9/12, probably to brag, but it wasn't on 9/12. So he lied about that too. But who's lying here? Is it the incident commander, or is it this guy from the military industrial complex? And it gets even crazier. This is a picture of Lee in Ukraine, 2015, with the head of Ukrainian military intelligence. Here's Lee right here, just out at the range with some spec ops guys. And this guy right here is allegedly Lee's attorney. So what's Lee doing with his attorney running over to Ukraine in 2015? He's very, very, very pro-Ukraine. He still to this day in his news channel claims that he's got people on the ground over there giving him information. Well, I think personally, you know, he is, you know, part of that effort that is basically being used to destabilize the region, to launder money, to steal resources from the United States. And you know, again, what is this guy with all these connections doing? So currently, I'm not going to show you guys any more videos, but there's going to be a lot of other video breakdowns of things he said. I'm giving these, you know, this evidence. It's just about done being transcribed. And when that is transcribed, I'm then going to invite Andrew Johnson and all the other Avengers, Matthew and Norman. I'm going to give them a low crawl through this, and they are going to become very, very proficient in this guy and his bullshit. Because if the directed energy weapons crowd legitimately, you know, they need people installing these instruments and these things. And I've never fucked with energy weapons. Of course, I have no idea what in the hell that they involve. But, you know, in this man's 20th anniversary documentary, he talks about how after the 1993 incident at the towers, how he was involved with the FBI, and he also names some specific people that I can reach out and touch in studies. They were up in the towers doing studies. And he talks about critical points where they knew the towers were the, I guess you could say, the most trouble. Like he personally, he's like, we knew a plane could take those things down. Like he was part of all these studies, and he talks about them. So again, that's why I'm so happy to be aligned with the directed energy weapons crowd, is because this guy was a directed energy weapons expert, but he's currently going around psyoping the world. You know, this is his news van. You know, he is now, you know, going from a independent news provider to a full-scale news van owner, and you can see all of his news gear and bullshit inside of this. Who is funding this? This is not funded from Buy Me a Coffee. There's no way in hell. There is just no way in hell. You know, so here he is going all over the country, doing the news. Here he is, Area 51, road tripping, live from Arizona, Eagle Pass, all these different places. I think this week he's in Kentucky, you know, pushing this message of World War III, you know, pushing this message of pro-Israel, pushing this, you know, Muslims are pig fuckers messages, according to him, this very, you know, anti-Muslim, you know, pro-Ukraine message. And I don't know if this is legitimate or not, but this is on his Twitter. You know, I don't know if he legitimately has a helicopter now, but, you know, it would not surprise me if he has got those types of connections, if he is being pushed in that type of direction, if this is the type of psyop and the type of potentials that these people really have. And so this was on his Twitter. I have no idea, but it's there. So, you know, on his YouTube channel, You know, it says he offers real news. You know, it says it time and time again. But then if you look a little bit further, you know, it says, notice, you know, all of his videos said nothing in this broadcast is live. All content is like live. This is a live action role-playing game for entertainment purposes only. Now, they, of course, they said that to try and remain in compliance with YouTube community standards. But I personally think that if this guy ever stands trial, he's going to try and use this shit right here to legally bounce from it, you know, to bounce from any type of psyop, you know. So I don't know. He's offering paid news. People seem to buy into it. But I found it very surprising that this shit was at the bottom of his YouTube channel. So there's a lot of other evidence that I'm going to be able to dissect that are, you know, these videos are no longer available. They were at one point in time, but as you can see, this used to be on his channel. It's an hour and a half. Maybe Norman, old Springbok, can get this. I've got a copy of it, but I'll share that with you guys. And there's a lot of these places where I got pictures, you know, like this one right here. You guys saw this picture of him and the governor. You know, here's two pictures of him fighting wildfires in 2001, according to him, up until 3 days before the event, which is really interesting because he also said that in early 2001, he was up in New York training FDNY. Well, we all know what happened later. So, you know, later in 2001. So, you know, this guy's in New York 1 minute. He's on the West Coast another minute fighting forest fires, and you can see that in these pictures. And then the next minute, he drives all the way across the country with all of his gear, all of his bullshit. He makes it to his hometown in Virginia, and instead of going home, and he talks about this in his 20th anniversary biography, he goes and checks into a hotel, and it's just wild. His whole story is completely and totally wild. But I'm going to be dissecting this video. Also talks about a lot of the things that he did, a lot of the positions he held, the ways that he made money. Here's another video I'm going to be dissecting. This one might be available still. This was a video that he uploaded where he was given kind of a 6-minute segment on the former show called Modern Marvels. And in this segment, it point blank talked about what it showed video footage of him training spec ops people. It said, you know, that Lee Wheelbarger's knowledge of weapon systems can be used for good or extremely bad things. Talks about his knowledge of technology, you know, in warfighting systems. I'm going to be breaking this video down. This will be available. And this video right here, and this is where I'm gonna actually pause, and I'm gonna turn it back over to Matthew for a second.
Yep.
I'm gonna ask you to pull up your your internet and go to YouTube, and make that the screen if you don't mind.
Okay, I'll do that. But also, yeah, I didn't know he was on Modern Marvels. I got to watch that video. That's
yeah, I've got that, so you can take a look at it.
Yeah, that's a pretty big video there. It's a pretty big channel. Okay, I'm right here. Start sharing with sound, and yeah.
Now go to YouTube. Go to the search. Type in KLW World News, and filter it by channels. He's gonna see the filters in the top right. Pull it up by channel.
Where's there it is.
There. Okay, now go to up.
Why does he have so many? It's
because I think what he does is he psyops people until one gets shut down, and then he goes to another. But click on, I think it's the second one down, KLW World News. Or KLW News. I apologize. The second one down.
Okay.
Go down. That's the one. Pull that video up right there.
This one here?
Yep, and then hit pause on it. Okay, this right here is the video that I just sent, or excuse me, that I just showed you guys a screenshot of my presentation.
Mm-hmm.
This is the only piece of evidence right now that still exists that shows that this guy is a fucking liar. Look what he put here. Lee Wheelbarger was head of logistics at the Pentagon on 9/11/01. No, he was not. He keeps driving that home that he was the head of logistics. Well, if you want to play this video, you're more than welcome to. I don't think we have to, but you can kind of skip through it a little bit. Again, video and, you know, pictures were absolutely a no-go. Well, he also here is going. What he's doing is he's performing the shoring up of the building. So we had to basically bring in, stuff to shore up the building to make it so it was a little more, I guess, not so, I guess you could say, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm kind of drawing a blank. So it wasn't so compromised. Fast forward just about 10, 15, 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Lee was taking these shoring logs over. Now you can see right here, all these people in BDUs that are behind him, those are old guard soldiers. So for him to say that old guard wasn't there, and more specifically, what you guys are going to see when you break down his videos of him challenging me, he keeps insisting that I wasn't there because he knew everybody that was there. And if he couldn't recognize you, then it was just, you were a liar, you were this. I'm going to turn on my lights real quick. I don't want to be sitting in the dark.
Okay. Yeah. And I have a question, because you said that this is illegal for him to post these videos or photos,
I don't know if the word illegal, but old guard soldiers were told to confiscate anything. If people were taking pictures or video, confiscate it. So if you were filming on site, you had no business doing that. Like, nobody was authorized to do this. We were even told, like, if you bring cameras in, if you bring, like, at the time it was like those little disposable cameras, like, they told us if we catch any of that kind of shit with you guys, like, it's going to be bad. So I looked to videos like this and I asked myself, why was this guy, according to Schwartz, he was part of an agency that had little to no first response authority. And remember, Schwartz said there were people, not just one individual, people trying to tear things down. So what was this guy really doing? And if you really understand and you look at the documents, and again, I can start breaking all this shit down for you, like, when the FBI got involved, they pulled their operations center over to Fort Myer. They weren't even on site. And you got guys like James Schwartz who were leaving the site and then going to the FBI command center. And that's when, in my opinion, that's when guys like Lee Wheelbarger right here were running in. And I mean, he is in charge of the operation. If you play this video right from where it's at, you're going to see him, like, he was pausing and holding the operation. Like, he was the guy that was in here. Look at him. He's running right up right now and, like, doing things. And there's a whole bunch of workers that are kind of sitting around, and he's the one that's kind of giving the order. So I thought that he was removed, James Schwartz. What up with that? Yeah, and look at, see, that's an old guard soldier right there. That's an old guard patch on his left shoulder. So Lee Wheelbarger claims that, no old guard soldiers were there, yet he's sitting here working right around them. You guys, he had a team.
He wasn't the patch. That's a patch you said on his shoulder. On his shoulder.
That's the old guard patch right there. That's the old guard soldier right there.
Oh, this is interesting.
So yeah, so is James Schwartz lying?
Yeah.
Who's lying?
And
here's another interesting thing. I'm not going to share this with you guys, but I can't show you. I can share it with you. You guys can look this up. But in that Charles Gibbs Arlington Library PDF, like in those interviews, Schwartz gave an interview, the incident commander, talking about how Christopher Combs, the head of the FBI's response, how in 2001, I believe it was February, how in a training area, like Chris Combs came to James Schwartz and said, hey, Schwartz, kind of telling him about this way in which if there was like a national incident, how basically the FBI would kind of swoop in if there was an incident where the fire department was in control of things, how the FBI would kind of swoop in and then take control. And at that time, Schwartz even said, like, I don't know how in the hell that makes sense, but that happened in 2001. We're going to get to the FBI in a little while, but, I say to myself, people were there. And if the Arlington After Action reports are going to claim that self-dispatching units were the problem, well, he's not self-dispatching. He's running the op. He's running the op. And furthermore, this flag that's right up here, like, he kept that flag. I've got a record of Lee Wheelbarger saying that he kept this flag and that the flag still smells like burning bodies.
Wow.
And I'm like, what in the actual fuck is wrong with you?
Okay.
Like, he's a sick maniac, but you don't have to share this video anymore.
Yeah.
I'm going to be dissecting that. I'm going to take over control again if you're cool with that.
Yeah. Yeah, that statement you said about the flag and the dead bodies, I think if you can find a connection with him and Aleister Crowley type theology, that'd be quite epic.
Well, here's another interesting thing. When Lee Wheelbarger was going after me one time, he had a Freudian slip, and instead of saying Pentagon, he said pentagram.
Oh, yeah, actually, that was the first thing I saw. When Norman sent me the video that's now deleted, the one where he says, don't believe in you. But then he was talking about Boeings, and then the first thing the first sentence he mentioned Pentagon was pentagram, and the comments were saying that's a Freudian slip.
Yeah. So if you're a high level DoD guy, you don't slip up and say pentagram. Come on, I don't know.
I actually included this in the video notes that I was typed up last night. I'll just show the screen for a quick second, and I'll get back. If I go to this one here, yeah, you can see the thing right here. Pentagram, Pentagon, or pentagram. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I actually wrote right here at 2:59 as the video is deleted, and I said between January 11th and January 17th, there were 11 hours is now at the pentagram. So,
and see, we did not talk about this beforehand. I am not lying. Yeah, I just said it, and you were like, no shit.
Yeah.
Dude.
You could even see 9/11 revisionist, like a sort of pentagram. You could pentagram. Yeah. So this was from, and then he sent me this one here. And what date was it? March 21st.
Yeah, you guys are right. That's why I love you guys. I'm telling you, you guys miss nothing.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to jump right back in.
Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing. You could go ahead.
Okay. All right, you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to break that video down, although we kind of just did it. But I say, you can make a difference, you guys. Please don't just leave this up to people like me and Norm and Matthew and the other Avengers. Like, go to KLW World News, ask him about Adam Eisenberg, get him talking about me, and then let myself, let Norman, let anybody, let Matthew know, and please, email me, eagle@orionproject911.com. Come to my Instagram. Let me know. Anytime you can get him to talk about me, please. Whether it be
get him to talk about Adam, and then download the video and clip the sections.
Yeah,
that's what we need.
Yeah, and see, he has still blocked me. I do have a Twitter. It's very small. Norman keeps giving me shit about that. All of my followers are on Instagram, but I'm going to be uploading all of the quotes that I have him, all of the video and audio testimony. I'm going to be cross-referencing it over to Twitter or X. So that's coming soon. So yes, he is the anomaly of all anomalies, him and his team, you guys. That you would think that we were going to stop there, but that's just not the case. The cover up that I can prove with 9/11 goes even deeper. On May 28th, 2021, backing up a little bit, I knew who Lee Wheelbarger was. At this point in time, I was already starting to engage the truth movement, and some of the Avengers have talked about, they've seen some of the emails that I've shared with guys like David Chandler and Richard Gage, Wayne Coastie, and all those other guys. I tried to get help from those guys and didn't get it. So I started to think, what the hell am I going to do here? And I started to formulate a strategy, but I am a disabled veteran. I had to go through a process to become a disabled veteran. And at that point in time, COVID was still a thing. Everything was done online. I had to sit in my first, I had to have two of them, but this was my first final hearing to determine if I was a disabled veteran. And in the middle of that hearing, I had my disabled American veteran rep. I had me, and I had this federal judge. I said, ma'am, I just have to say, I want to go off record. I want to go on record, that, I was part of a major thing. I was at the Pentagon for 240 hours. I study the event, I'm investigating it, and I research the event. And I believe with all my heart that I witnessed a false flag operation. And I just want to go on record right now with you. And I believe that I can point to people where an investigation should begin. And I wish you guys could have seen the look on her face. And my DAV rep was like, oh my God, like, so that was May 28th. And wouldn't you know it, on June 17th, you can see the date right here, I received a letter from the Veterans Administration. They mailed it to me and they said, this concerns your hearing held on the 28th. We regret to advise you that we are unable to produce a complete transcript of the proceeding due to audio malfunction. So yeah, they maybe do the whole thing over again. The judge never went any deeper with it. Yeah, you know, and furthermore, what's even crazier, I even submitted as a part of my hearing, if you guys remember, the lay statement talking about the anthrax incident. So I talked to a Veterans Administration judge about what I could prove and the anthrax incident. I used that as evidence in my court hearing. They didn't give a shit. Glazed right over it. I'm a disabled veteran now, but nobody dug deeper into that. Why? So there's also research, you know, I talked a little bit about my oral testimony. I talked a little bit about my investigation. Now we're going to get into the research component of this. So if you look into the Arlington After Action Report, the first few pages are going to talk about the grant that was given to Titan Systems Corporation to complete the After Action Report. And this AAR has within it the responsibilities and what was done for Arlington County Fire, the Defense Protective Services, that's the police officers for the Pentagon, and the FBI. So if you look into this document, you should be able to go to the Department of Justice, look up this contract number, look up this order number, and get something. That's what I did. Went to the Department of Justice. Well, of course, if you put in the contract number, the AAR shows right up, right there. You know, so you can once again see that it came from a grant, you know, that the Titan Corporation of San Diego, California, were the authors, which is interesting because why would you give the responsibilities of an after-action report to a for-profit institution and not the people who were actually on the ground? Furthermore, you know, how long did it take this institution to put together this report? A lot of years. And so that's a problem. So digging even deeper into this, if you click on this PDF, you know, it says, you know, hey, you're about to leave the Office of Justice Programs, you know, be warned. And so one would think you're going to go to that, but guess where you're taken to? A different website altogether. This is a Department of Justice website that takes you to a different website altogether, 911investigations.net, and it's got Theory Masons shit up here. Like, huh? Very strange. Very, very strange. So research into this subject must be done. And, you know, I don't know if it was the grant number or the contract number or the order number. That there was the contract number and the order number. So I took then the order number, tried to paste the order number into the Office of Justice Programs. You get no results. Well, here's where it gets crazy. I reached out, and this is recent. This is May. I reached out to the Department of Justice, to the Office of Justice Programs, and I asked them for all the information on that grant. And here they say, you know, please be advised that a search has been conducted and the OGP had no documents were located which were responsive to your request. I then called this gentleman and spoke to this gentleman on the phone, and he even said that he went to his supervisor, and they couldn't find a single document that had to do with their request. So this is not like some random Tuesday where I'm searching for like some random police report. This is September 11th, kind of a big deal. You would think, you know, that we would keep all the information, but in this case, you just can't find it anywhere. Well, one would think, what the hell? That's not normal. Well, yes, it is.
And also, I just want to make a note. The guy's last name is pretty interesting. The guy that's signature, Daniel Gaylord.
Yeah, Gaylord. Yeah.
It's an interesting for informational specialist. Well, that's the guy that they're. So I just found it interesting. So out of all the names, that's the one that's getting the letter signed.
Yeah. Well, if you look in, here's what gets crazy. If you look into the AAR and you start to type in like James Jackson, for example, he can be found on several pages. Well, remember, the medical response to 9/11 talked about General Weldon. He was the commander at the Pentagon on site. He ordered Jackson to put the military district of Washington on site immediately. Well, if you look up the AAR for Weldon, there's nothing. Why is that? So I don't know. It's very interesting, but if you start to dig, I don't know if you guys know who Daniel Hopsicker is. He's no longer with us, but he started to talk a little bit about Titan Corporation, and he said that they were awash in criminal charges, political payoffs, and then torture scandals. So again, what is this military industrial complex company doing the after action report for a place across the country? Makes no sense. You know, on this article right here, there's a comment section. Somebody, it wasn't me, I swear to you, back in 2012, some guy named Adam wrote, Titan wrote the AAR at the Pentagon. You know, Khalid al-Madar and Nawaf al-Azmi, among others, were on Flight 77, were based out of San Diego, as was Titan at the time. Who knows? You know, that's kind of interesting. But I will say that there are some interesting ties to, or it just, you know, I don't know. There's just so many questions. It's just like, if you have ever been in a military unit, you understand that, like, whether it's something small like a training event or something bigger, like the people who were on the ground do the AAR. Like it's absolutely absurd that it would be given to some other group. So I don't know. But additionally, if you go to this document, the after action report of Arlington, and you go to the index and you start to look up the referenced documents, I have basically, and you can go, this is July 2023, like to the city attorney of Alexandria. I have been FOIA requesting all the documents, and I've been getting some extremely interesting responses. For example, I did 2 separate FOIA requests with the city attorney of Alexandria, and in both circumstances, they denied me because pursuant to Virginia Code 2.3-3704A, they didn't have to give anything to any other than citizen, anything to anybody outside of the Commonwealth of Virginia. I looked it up. That's a real law. Interesting. Well, Arlington County in Virginia, they didn't put me under that law. They actually were cool. They're like, yeah, well, look, well, wouldn't you know it? The Arlington County Sheriff's Office point blank said, we do not have any records responsive to your request. So that was the second time it happened. And then there was a third time, DC Fire. You know, this is, you know, back in 2023, we are unable to locate any records responsive to your request. You know, it recently happened just a few days ago. I was trying to hit up DC again. I sent it to these guys. This is one of the other crazy things that they said. Look right here. We have determined that the records you see, well, actually, I need to go further. I just said to him, my name is Adam Eisenberg. I was deployed in the first response efforts at the Pentagon during Operation Noble Eagle. I'm conducting research on the event while writing my oral testimony. Was hoping you could provide copies of the AAR and official documents from DC Fire and EMS, including any and all agents you may represent. Well, they denied me in full. And they did so because, according to them, any specific response plan, any DC response plan, and, you know, any vulnerability assessment would be denied. Well, I didn't ask them for a plan. I didn't ask them for any vulnerability assessments. I asked them for an after action report. So that's the kind of candy ass bullshit that these people do. It's not even the same thing. So if they're not creating laws to keep the information from us, then they're just saying that it flat out doesn't exist, which is a problem because you got, you know, Arlington County, you know, getting linked up with this company that's doing these after action reports. Well, this right here is what an after action report is supposed to look like. And it's not years after the event. It's within a little bit over a month. And the reason I really dig this after action report is because, you know, it's got skin in the game, names, supervisors, you know, real deal skin in the game. And here's the great thing. Nobody knows about this. I do not know why nobody has brought this up. But the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms was extremely really just they were big on they went in on the FBI. I'm just going to let you guys see. Like, several problems were encountered during this investigation. Many of the problems should be addressed through agreements with the FBI. Perhaps a new approach should be made under the premise of both agencies discussing an after-action assessment of activities. So they didn't want to do an assessment of the activities. Like, there were numerous issues that arose. Let's get into some of those. The FBI's command structure, according to the ATF, is disjointed. A lot of the FBI team leaders and managers have little to no experience in dealing with these types of scenes, and therefore they could offer little to no guidance to others. There were no daily meetings between the agency heads at the site. If there were, ATF was not included. What? The FBI was reluctant to utilize the ATF expertise or its equipment. Even further, in one instance, they refused to allow an experienced ATF bomb tech to handle a suspicious package outside of the Pentagon grounds. In fact, the ATF bomb tech had to remind the FBI bomb tech not to approach the package without a bomb suit to perform an assessment because 2 explosive detecting canines had alerted the presence of explosives. You know, so that right there, you know, that was an agency, and that came out a little over a month. But in closing, there's a couple of little last resources I'm going to share with you, a couple little witness testimonies. The first one comes from this book on the left. This came from a collection of essays that I've never talked to any of these guys. I found this book, and there's really one testimony. It came from a gentleman by the name of Chris Bradley. And on page 23 of this book, he says, as the DEA completed their evidence searches. Now that right there is a problem. The FBI was in charge of evidence searches. According to one document that I was able to find, the DEA was involved on a voluntary basis, and they also specifically served in the capacity of evidence sifting. So if you want to introduce evidence that looks like something happened, you do it from another agency that's not associated with the FBI. A lot of people have talked about the DEA, and there are people like Ryan Dawson who I'm even like, man, why are you get so much right geopolitically, but then you hang out with Adam Fitzgerald, like, why? Like, I heard him talking about the DEA. Even one of my research assistants can start going off about the DEA. I just don't know a lot about them, but, you know, I'll continue. You know, as the DEA completed their evidence searches, they boxed up the findings and loaded them into white, unmarked Isuzu moving trucks. As the ranking soldier in my team, I was stuck driving. My team was armed, and I was given a paper map with step-by-step instructions. The brakes were so bad, I remember them to this day with great distaste. We left the Pentagon, traveled to a secret government warehouse, and unloaded the evidence. Now remember, this was hazardous material. It had been exposed allegedly to asbestos, to human remains, to jet fuel, to all these things. It was supposed to be handled in a way that dealt with that, not dropped off in barely operable, you know, box trucks. And here he says, you know, the warehouse contained retired presidential limousines, huge items under thick plastic, and I'm sure the Ark of the Covenant from Raiders of the Lost Ark, but we didn't see it. Now here's where it gets really, really interesting. That same day, we were treated with a quick visit to the DEA headquarters in Pentagon City. The agent gave us some DEA shirts to wear while we transported the evidence. I felt like I was cheating on the Army while I wore it, but seeing the envy in a few of my battle buddies' eyes made it bearable. So the FBI did not have chain of custody of the evidence. It was mishandled because there was no evidence. I can tell you guys, as a former parts inspector, that we pulled every damn thing out of that building. And so when I say that these people didn't know what they were looking for, I go to that book on the right in closing. I'm holding that book on the right in my hand. I go to page 383, and here we go. FEMA and the FBI had decided it was important to separate airplane wreckage from everything else. So as crews pulled debris apart, they'd examine it to figure out if it looked like a part of a plane or something from inside the building. They were still working on the fringe of the impact zone, and most of the wreckage was shredded or in tatters. In fact, hardly any of the recovery crews had any idea how to identify portions of an airplane, nor did the FBI agents. So workers would hold up a piece of metal looking for rivets or highly machined aluminum to help them guess. Airplane, they would ask each other. Airplane, a couple of voices would usually answer back. Well, guys, that's bullshit. Airplane parts have these things called serial numbers. That's how you identify them. And they are designed specifically to withstand these types of incidents. And I used to tell my people when I worked at Pratt & Whitney, I said, you need to make sure you do everything correctly, because in the event of a major aeronautical catastrophe, like, they're going to research this shit. They're going to do everything they can to find the fault, and they're going to work it back to the parts if they can. And so make sure it's right. But you guys, there is going to be quite a bit coming out. I currently own the domain for exposingleewheelbarger.com. I'm going to be playing with that soon. And I also have a $5,000 debate challenge out. If you guys think that what I've introduced in the last couple of hours is a lot, wait until you guys start to see the breakdowns that I have of the videos of Lee Wheelbarger. You can see the first two of those on my Instagram right now. Go to Exposing Lee Wheelbarger Chapter 1 and 2. But the directed energy weapons guys and I are going to be getting into those other videos in the coming months. But last but not least, you guys, if there was a picture that I could describe to you, they say a picture, has 1,000 words, but if there was one picture that I could use to describe what my efforts have been like since joining the 9/11 truth movement, which there really is no truth movement, you guys, there isn't. This picture right here would perfectly encapsulate that. And so, Matthew and, Norman, and Andrew Johnson, Keith, other guys that are involved, they've seen these emails that I have on these quote unquote truthers. And the only thing that I can say, you guys, is that counterintelligence professionals are a very real thing. We knew COINTELPRO existed, counterintelligence programs. That's an acronym. You can look it up. They existed back in the day. The government apparatuses said that these types of things were, looking into Black Panthers, Ku Klux Klan members back in the day, those, groups that they believed were extreme. And I believe with all of my heart that people like David Chandler, people like Ken Jenkins, people like Richard Gage, Wayne Coastie, Adam Fitzgerald, Nelson Martins, Ed Brotherton, Sean Russell, Darren Harvey, all these people that have been running from me in debates, especially people like Richard Gage that have been running from people like Dr. Judy Wood and Andrew Johnson. These people are the real problem. These are the people that have caused, this issue to get backed up, and ultimately, justice has not been served. They are not the ones that hold sole blame. There are obviously people in the government apparatuses. There's laws that have been established. There's a lot that has been designed to keep progress from happening. But I think Norman and I think other people, Matthew can talk about the things that they've seen, because I can certainly talk and show evidence to the things that I've seen. But you guys, stay tuned. I very much appreciate this time. I very much appreciate all of you that have spent all this time listening. You guys, I could continue to talk about this for hours. There's so much evidence that I'm going to be releasing. And I just want to say thank you to Norm, thank you to Matthew, and thank you to all the other Avengers, and especially to my other two closest teammates, X-Ray and Seraphim. Love you guys. And that's all I got to say.
No. That's not all you've got to say. No, dear sir, no. You need to get a little bit more into. You didn't mention your major interactions with Gage, especially when he had you on.
Oh, I think your mic. I think his mic changed up again. But I also Paul Loveless was asking for your email address. Is that okay to share in the chat, or you don't want to share it Adam?
No, not in the chat.
Yeah, not in the chat.
I
All
don't
right.
think so.
Yeah.
But especially the with Gage, because he had you on, he listened to you, he invited you to a story, and just go into that, and then obviously what you mentioned with regards to David Chandler, because what we sitting with is we've got Chandler stating that Building 7 was a controlled demolition, which it wasn't. But at the same, so there they're going against the government narrative. And now he's linked with the Center for 9/11 Justice Suppression, pushing the play narrative at the Pentagon. So especially those two aspects, because now you've got Architects for Engineered Truth, where all these guys huddled around. Then they kicked out Gage because he went against the COVID narrative, which I see as a pivot. And so he's on his own because he's like a celebrity, and he's like branded himself to have people just follow him blindly after all these years. And then all of a sudden, you've got Chandler going off to this new organization that was founded in 2023 with Ted Walters, who was a guy who worked for Gage in Architects and Engineers for 8 years. So they've expanded their little reach with all the various angles. So number one, please discuss Gage, and then obviously Chandler, and possibly maybe somebody else who's affiliated with it.
Why don't I just give you the whole timeline? I'll walk right down. So originally, my plan when I started, and I still got emails of all this stuff, I stumbled into Lee, and I thought, okay, my proximity to the event has opened some doors that I don't think researchers have been able to touch. So I wanted to get some people from the 9/11 Truth Movement involved. So the first thing I did, I said, I need a pilot. And so I went to Dan Hanley. That was the first person
Oh God, no!
This is years ago.
No.
Just let me. So I went to Dan Hanley, and I was like listening to him, and I asked him a pilot-related question, and he said, that's where you have to really ask David Chandler. And he said, but forewarning you, David, he believes that a plane hit the building.
Can I interject? So, a pilot who's been doing all this work for pilots,
9/11 pilot,
you to go talk to a high school physics teacher that knows nothing of actual physics.
You are correct, sir. It's interesting. I'm not trying to shit on. I might try to shit.
Once again, sorry to interject, because Matthew owned him so hard the other day, because he's like punting his whole physics course, and then Matthew is like, dude, I'm also an engineer and I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. And he and all of a sudden Gage jumps in to try and save his ass.
Well, yeah. So I went to this guy. I was like, you are the only pilot, and I started talking to him, and he immediately pushed me over to David Chandler, and even then I was like, breaking down what he really doesn't go. He says, I don't take a position on the Pentagon. I'm like, well, that's like the easiest thing to take a position on. So what do you take a position on? And all he does is he says that the Boeing uninterruptible autopilot system, it was basically used. And it's like, well, you just said then that that opens up the possibility to anybody, that anybody could have done this. And furthermore, like, I question how from Iran, how really effective somebody can be with 9/11 activism, which I'm not shitting on Iran. I know Iranian people. They're great. They're nice. I know some Iranian people that moved here. But yeah, and then, he's kind of, as Norman said, he's kind of a limited hang. I offered to do like a live collaboration with him where he basically gave me like the boo-hoo story about how he was done wrong, how his retirement was sent into the gutter. He lost millions. His kids won't talk to him, which that sucks. if that's legit, sure. But my train of thought is, okay, if you've given up so much, then you would want to team up with people who were there, people that can get information like I've been able to prove to you guys. But no, oh no, David Chandler, the International Center, he wants to go that route. So I'm like, okay, I see that. But he transferred me to David Chandler. I sent David Chandler, this was years ago, a very nice message. Hey, we might disagree, but I will respect you. And so he said, sure, I would like to speak with you. And so gave him my phone number. And he said, would you be cool if I brought some additional people? I said, absolutely, sure. I text messaged him, I called him. The first time we ever spoke, this was June of 2021, I believe. I'm like, pick it up. I'm like, hello. It's like, hi, hello. And I'm like, hi, is this David? And he's like, who are you? Like, he knew who I was. He knew I was going to be contacting him. How did I get his number? Extremely aggressive, extremely aggressive. And it got to the point, he never, of course, brought on any of his other research assistants. But David Chandler and I had a series of interactions into 2021. And I finally, and I shared this email with Norman and with Matthew and the guys, I finally called his ass out. He was trying to basically set the stage that I was, just this PTSD-ridden guy. He was trying to needle me. He kept trying to treat me aggressively, tried to ask me questions about the incident that were not legitimate, trying to really push hard. Like Adam Fitzgerald, trying to be nice and not be nice, but trying to really be aggressive and trying to just strong arm me, quite frankly. I felt like, if you're a scientist, you don't act like that. And if even if you aren't scientists receptive to potentially being wrong? I mean, that's how science gets advanced. I mean, other scientists come along and take the work that people have done and they advance it. But scientists are supposed to observe. David Chandler made absolutely very little effort to observe me. It was more of a way to try to understand me, I think, to get close to me. Shortly after David, then came other people. Wayne Coasty, for example. I reached out to Wayne on Facebook, I sent you guys copies of this. Wayne wanted to talk about damage to the building, and I did just that. I sent him the Wheelbarger video where I showed, Wheelbarger's explanation of the circular scuff mark on top of the building that the alleged rotor put. Wayne Coasty told me to go away. Hey, look at that right there. Yeah, Wayne Coasty told me to go away. And I said, would you please just watch the video? Refused to do it. So yeah, I told him, I said, one of these days I'm going to challenge you to a debate. And I've done that through David Schlesinger, his little Boston 9/11 buddy. And the guys, I think, did you guys see, Norman might have saw how that transponded. Eventually I was like, I'll debate.
I've got a copy of that whole interaction.
Yeah,
as well.
And then all of a sudden, when we pin all of them down, then all David Schlesinger does is just say, oh, I'm just here to talk about standing against fascism. I'm like, what the fuck ever. Seeing all these pictures. So yeah, Wayne Coasty was bad news. Barbara Honegger, there's another picture. Aggressively interviewed me. I've never been so aggressively pushed in an interview in my life. I sent the guys that picture. I found that picture right there. What appears to be, a Masonic signal to Reagan. I mean, go back to that picture if you don't mind, Norman. And Bush looked.
It was me controlling it. Yeah. All right.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Barbara Honegger. Again, offered her anthrax information, that the public doesn't know about. Didn't bite into it. Here's where it gets crazy. She is the board member, I think, of the lawyers committee. She's on the lawyers committee. She's on a few different things. Do you think she's ever offered to introduce me to the lawyers committee?
No.
You think she's ever offered to do anything? She introduced me to one person. This guy's name, he was a guy by the name of Dr. Bill Deagle. Dr. Bill Deagle is a former InfoWars guy.
Oh, Deagle.
I went on with Dr. Bill Deagle, and he tried to get me to keep coming back. Like, this guy left over 40 voice messages on my phone, kept wanting me to come on as a regular on his show. Off record, he was absolutely insistent on mini nukes. He's just like, he's like, I'm pushing mini nukes. Mini nukes, it's mini nukes this. Even Barbara Honegger was like talking low key. She's like, don't tell Richard about this, but we're working on some mini nuke stuff. So I don't know if anything ever came to fruition of that, but Barbara Honegger's another one. Absolutely do not trust her. And my theory is, you know, if you're going to have somebody covering up the truth, you know, she separated from the Reagan administration and wrote a book about it, and was very outspoken about that. Well, down the line, you know, she became very outspoken about the Pentagon issue. You know, so what up with that? Barbara Honegger, you know, also a very good close friend of Richard Gage as well. Richard Gage, let's get into that. I'm going to kind of go off timeline. I was going to try and keep it on a timeline, but Richard Gage invited me to speak in 21 or early 2022 when he was doing his own thing. When he was away from architects and engineers, he went out and started doing his own little speaking thing. Is Richard Gage Unleashed? Well, I went to him and I said, you know, I can talk about a lot. I can talk about what I did and didn't see. And I started talking to him about Lee, and then I started talking to him about the Orion project. Like, this is when the Orion project was really starting to come to light. And he let me on to talk about what I did and didn't see. And then he invited me back to give a 15-minute talk about what I did and didn't see at his Pentagon event, where he gave Chandler and Wayne Coasty, he gave, I think, Thierry Mason, I think he gave Craig McKee, Adam Ruff, and Xander Arena, one of my assistants, 2 hours. They gave like several teams 2 hours. And he was only basically going to give me 15 minutes. And then he allowed Ken Jenkins a 15-minute counter. I didn't like that one bit because I wanted to talk more. I think I've earned the right. And since I've been talking, do you guys think you've seen some 9/11 shit that nobody else has been able to produce? I mean, I think I've been able to come.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
He didn't want me to show any of this. And in fact, he told me, and I've still got this email, you guys have seen it, you guys can share it if you have it. If I showed it to anybody or started talking about it to anybody, that he was going to kind of effectively pull the plug. That's Adam Fitzgerald, I think. Yeah, I've got the Adam
Which
Fitzgerald.
which one was that again?
It should be...
I can search it up.
Gauge talking points,
Oh, the Gauge one. Adam Gauge.
Richard Gage talking points.
Oh, this one here. Okay. Yeah, that's what I asked if you can forward them. Because it's hard to show the audience. It's hard to read because it's a screenshot of the whole wide.
Yeah.
So if you can forward, for next time maybe, I'll just zoom in, open his new tab. 1 second.
Yeah.
Was he using his 33 email?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Okay, it's just hard. I'm gonna make this wider.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, it's just 33. Yeah, so our Gauge 33. It's like it's in a court of my law. I'm counting that as evidence as he's a Freemason, 33 degree.
Yeah. Well, what he wanted me to do, like I was in this, I wanted to talk at the Pentagon event, obviously about the Orion project, but I also wanted to start calling out David Chandler and Wayne Coasty. I wanted to call them out with the evidence, like that I've been showing you guys. Like I've got evidence on all these guys, and then he's like, "No, you can't do it. I'm not going to let you like ask these people any questions. That's not what it's going to do. This is not the appropriate venue for that." And so it's like, no, Richard, I see that as aiding and abetting. I think you're aiding in the disinformation that these people are spreading. So yeah,
Sorry to interject, but that's something that I also saw, especially after I think it was the 20th anniversary, and I saw how little American kids at university knows about 9/11, and then I started watching all the regular weekly stuff, and I just noticed that all that they're doing is they're taking guys who wrote something 10 years ago and they're interviewing them. So that guy just goes back to what he wrote 10 years ago and he presents that as if it's new, relevant information. And I just figured, no, something's up here, man.
Well, the same thing.
And that's when I decided in 2023 to get into their rooms and start asking them questions pertaining to Dr. Wood's work. And then I found that they just can't answer certain questions.
Stay on that
and
side.
that's when I knew that's complete and utter bullshit. And I knew now we've got to fucking hammer them, because people need to know this. Because people who've been following them for all these years are just lapping up this stuff, and they're just being reprogrammed with the same bull.
Yeah, well, it's very easy to fall for his tricks, but I know right now that this man won't debate anybody in the directed energy weapons crowd. He won't even go near it. But the reason I wanted you to stay on this group, SF911truth.org, that's the Northern California 9/11 Truth Alliance. We might as well get into this. I don't know if you saw, you showed the email. I sent Gage my bio too. I wanted to mention that. He changed my bio, and I'm like, whatever, loser. But I didn't do his little Pentagon event. But if you go to this website, you can see that he's involved. I want to get into one of his go-to about us. Right there. Bios. I don't care about Carol. Keep going. Boom. Ken Jenkins. Go up. Boom. Okay. This is where, in my humble opinion, and I will walk this statement back, because if this man tries to sue me or anything for defamation, I will say or do whatever to be, if I'm wrong. This is where I think the cabal meets the 9/11 truth movement. This right here is where the cabal and the 9/11 truth movement meet. And I say that for a number of reasons. Ken Jenkins was very much involved with David Ray Griffin. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but Ken Jenkins has been already editing a lot of David Ray Griffin's presentations since he passed away. But Ken Jenkins was the first person in the entire 9/11 truth movement that knew who Lee Wheelbarger was, and without even a second's worth of hesitation, in the company of Nelson Martins and Ed Brotherton, two other agitators that have been running for me as well, he point blank said that I was foolish. I mean, it was like a fake. Lee Wheelbarger, oh, why are you going after him for? Chastised the hell out of me. And I sent you guys emails. He has chastised me repeatedly for looking into him. And this guy is a close associate of Adam Fitzgerald, Nelson Martins, Wayne Coastie. And so, if you look into this guy, Ken Jenkins, very, very, very bad dude, in my opinion. Yeah, his story makes no sense. And I'm asking you, Ken Jenkins. No, yeah, pull that right up there. That's a hysterical. That's in one of their presentations. The Pentagon witnesses deserve the same respect we give to the World Trade Center witnesses. Well, David Chandler, please, please, please explain your behavior. Mm-hmm. Ken Jenkins, explain your behavior. Wayne Coastie, explain your behavior. So these guys have had, I think, out in the open, they used to have a website. You might be able to find it on the Wayback Machine. It was called the 9/11 Outcasts or something like that. But they used to be very publicly kind of linked. It was him, Adam Fitzgerald, and Wayne. They called themselves the Outcasts. And you don't really see that anymore. That website went away. You do see some stuff on Ken Jenkins, but I think he's more involved behind the scenes. But he was it, and he claimed that he had spoken to Lee Wheelbarger and that he had notes and that he was going to share those notes with me. Never did, and really just continued to no matter what I said or did, tried to play this game of just it's a disinformation game, in my opinion. When I had my 4-hour-long Zoom with him and Ed Brotherton, which was arranged by Nelson Martins. Nelson was also present as well. This is when I was trying to get to know these people, to try to figure them out, because something didn't make sense. He did 90% of the talking, and it was a 4-hour-long Zoom. And he basically was sitting there trying to tell me about my biases. And I'm like, my bias of the situation. Like these guys, him, Fran Shure, they play this psychological game. And so I would love to ask Ken Jenkins, why.
Sorry, if I can interject again. I've got a nice little article on Fran Shure and Marty Hopper from Colorado 9/11 Truth, So they're a big happy family. Family.
Mm-hmm. So this guy, he worked as a professional for 40 years in the Hewlett-Packard state-of-the-art broadcast facility, and you're like, I don't know, like his story, going to Carnegie Mellon, extensive postgraduate study in psychology, and then all of a sudden he goes to work in Hewlett-Packard. It just doesn't make any sense.
And also, it says here, woke up to 9/11 in literally like 2 months.
Oh, well, you want to see an even better bio, go to the International Center and look up David Chandler's bio.
Oh, wow.
In that place, it point blank says that David Chandler got his activism beginnings in an effort to help usher illegal aliens across the border.
No way. Okay, that's
shit.
About. I'm out here, and this guy here is wearing a hat. He actually has Krusty the Clown hair. What is this guy's name?
Oh, he's one of the victim's family members, right? I believe.
Yeah, but if you see his hair, he's wearing a hat in this photo. The International Justice probably told him, "We're not putting you on the website unless you put a hat on." You've seen his hair, right?
Yeah. It's got like little devil points or something like that. Yeah. But if you can find David Chandler's, I think it's up in.
I'll go with David Chandler.
The About, maybe, I don't know.
Okay, I'll do this quickly because I am gonna have to head out in a bit. Let me just find some stuff. David Chandler bio. Where can I find stuff? I'm gonna have to. I just need a bigger screen. Okay, I'm gonna close this. Is it in the bio basics about who we are? We are. Let's see. Is there any Chandler?
I think leadership under the About.
Okay, leadership. Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's go Chandler.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, how did you get involved with 9/11 Truth Movement? His reply is, it started back in the early 80s. He cites his involvement with the sanctuary movement through his churches sheltering refugees from El Salvador and Guatemala. This gave him, it disabused him of any sense of American exceptionalism. What? I'm like, dude, so I came to you pointing out the military-industrial conflict, pointing out the cabal. Like I had these types of talks with him, and I showed him. Like I said, hey, I've got somebody in the crosshairs. I stumbled onto somebody. No, he didn't want to have anything to do with it. Pushed me away, aggressively charged me, and then all of a sudden, here come his little gang of bitches. Adam Fitzgerald, Nelson Martins, Ed Brotherton, all those clowns that absolutely nobody has any respect for. David Chandler has never even come close to winning a debate on this subject. I don't even know why the International Center wants to have anything to do with him.
Oh, and they included this guy's hair in the photo.
I would love to talk to him one day. I actually had a conversation with Ted one time at the International Center. I said, hey, I'm working on a lot. I said, but eventually I would like an introduction to the, victims' family members that you know. I didn't want to do it. I could have asked for it then. I didn't want to. I wanted to wait till my shit was finished.
Yeah.
I also talked to Ted. I said, hey, my experiences with David Chandler weren't very scientific, and he laughed. He said, that doesn't surprise me. I was like, and that doesn't bother you? So I'd love to ask Ted, what up with that? After I had that talk with you, Ted, you had a talk with David Chandler, a public one. I'm curious to know, like, how do you sit with that? I was there. Like, I can show you guys things about David Chandler in our interactions, but you let him on your board. Explain yourself. And then if you get into guys like, that have been associated with him, guys like Craig McKee. I heard stories from Craig McKee. Well, I got stories about Craig McKee too. I invited Craig McKee to be a part of my team. You guys saw that interaction. What happened, Norman?
Well, but that was when you were still very, very green and you didn't really know much.
Yeah.
I've been hammering him on a regular basis, and he wrote a whole op-ed article on Dr. Wood in 2005 already. And I wrote an article about his article that he wrote, where people were just pointing out that all this stuff is absolutely farcical. And I've been trying to get an answer out of him, and I've actually been challenging him to a discussion because he's pivoted himself into a position where he's against David Chandler and Ted Walter and all those guys for pushing the plane aspect to the Pentagon. But at the same time, he's still writing stuff for architects and engineers. So once again, they're all part of a big club running all this disinformation and their own infighting to try and give you an idea that these people are trying to figure something out, but they're not. It's a fucking big distraction.
Yeah. Even guys like Jason Burmis, you saw the pictures of him. He invited me to come on his podcast after I had a one-on-one discussion with him where we talked privately. And then he ghosted me. I'm like, what? Okay, in Mr. Loose Fucking Change, like, okay, I see you. Christopher Boleyn said that I had the best collection, the best database the best vault of information he'd ever seen with pictures. And I said, hey, Lee Wheelbarger, this is when I was really green. I was like, this guy, Lee Wheelbarger, challenged me to a debate. God damn it, I think I stumbled onto everything. I need you, Chris. Gone. He probably thought I was a Jew. He goes in on Israel. My last name's Eisenberg.
Yeah, but he also badmouths Dr. Wood on his website, and he pushes the thermite. So once again, part of the big club.
And you saw his email. He's like, how do you explain all these other things? And I'm like, have you not been involved in 9/11 Truth for, the last however many years? You've never heard of the Citizens Investigation Team? Like, you don't know this shit? What?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, here you go.
Yes, Chris. Did you see a great deal of debris of a large Boeing aircraft engine parts landing gear in a Rebel? Did you send a photo? It's like he's trying to force the issue as opposed to just getting what you actually saw.
Yeah, I sent him a photo. It's like, yeah, I sent you a whole bunch of shit. Like,
yeah, it says
gave it my Google Drive.
Yeah, it says
no. It's exactly the same that the way that Matthew was grilling the guys in Boston 9/11 when they were trying to push this whole remote control plane bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a whole 4-hour thing like last Sunday on that didn't go into airplane physics or impact physics or anything like that. They just want to push a certain fucking narrative that's completely opposite to what Mark says, what Richard D. Hall says, and everybody. And how do they manage to get onto these huge alternative media podcasts?
It's because they're the only ones doing it right now to this day. They're the only ones. But I'll tell you, I have purposefully kind of held myself back from if somebody asks me to come speak, I come speak and I show them what I can show. But my proximity to the event opens the doors to podcasts. I could be getting us in front of a lot more. We won't have any problem once we get our message. And my plans are very simple. You, me, Xander, Mark Conlin, you guys, we are basically going to create a fucking conga line of destruction. Nobody's going to come like one at a time. We can do presentations and just drive evidence home. And the David Chandlers and the Richard Gages, they're not going to be able to stop that. They're just not. And I have no problem saying it. Like, I will host a space for a debate versus the directed energy weapons versus thermite crowd. I'll hold it.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit how long it takes. These people keep running from people like Andrew and Dr. Judy Wood. So why is that? Why do they run? Why don't they just invite them to a debate and put them out of their misery? Why do they run?
Yeah, because
after all these years, they must be so certain of their points that nobody could.
Well, because again, they're gonna be trying to argue this. This is absolutely impossible. This is there's no way, like, no regular person that's being made aware of this info will side with them.
And now Richard Gage is making a movie about taking the evidence to a court. Like, you're not doing anything to take evidence to a fucking court. You're making a movie about
I saw his trailer on that during one of his Zoom calls.
But
Yes.
that's the thing. That's the thing. Dr. Morgan Reynolds did his whole impact studies and planes and all of that in 2007. That was his case. And Dr. Wood did the whole World Trade Center thing in 2007 and went to the US Supreme Court in 2009. But none of these guys mentioned that. And that's what I especially did with Dan Hanley in Alive X Space. And he actually told me that I know more about plane physics, what Boeing said, and all of that kind of stuff than he does. And a week later, there was some, Matthew pointed everything out, and he was shown again to be a limited hangout on that. But these guys are getting all the fucking airtime, man. And we need people who are still watching this stream now to further that, to go do your own research, get your own little clips and information or whatever, and start pushing it, because we need more people to rile this up, because there's a huge bigger picture that comes into play.
Yeah, I'll show up and give presentations till the cows come home, you guys. Evidence-based. And they're only going to get more robust and more robust and more robust. I'm not trying to engage Wheelbarger anymore, because the last time I closed the loop. The dude doxed me. Like, the next thing that comes is like literally threatening to come up here to my house. And I was like, oh, please do it. I will fucking kill you on my doorstep. I am locked and loaded, dude.
Yo, just careful of the wording. I don't want to get my channel to strike for that.
Sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, just because
this guy's threatening me, you guys. This is real deal. This is real deal. I mean, if you go to his Rumble channel and you search for Star Fox, you're going to find what happened with him and I recently. And he unloaded, or he showed me how he's going to attack me. He took one incident where I misspoke about the event, one incident and one incident only, and he then used that to try and tell his audience that I was committing stolen valor, even though he also misspoke in that video too, claiming that, Alexandria sent him, not Arlington. So he committed the same mistake that I did, but that was his big nuclear defense against me. A lot's happened. He doxed me, did all this stuff, but stay tuned, you guys. There's a lot that's going to be coming down the pike.
Yeah, definitely. Because I remember these guys, not only do they have like no morals, but they're siding with literally like genocide and like murdering thousands and millions, etc. So so that's the kind of evil we're dealing with, and the like lack of emotion these people have, and that's where Gage comes in. I think a lot of these guys are like either blackmailed or both like psychopaths, so we're dealing with actual
Their one and only defense against me now, the one and only thing they have is to act like I don't exist. That's it. And according to, a lot of people, the only thing that Lee Wheelbarger can do now is try to take me out.
That's what I mean.
If that happens, guys, if that happens, Lee Wheelbarger, I hope you guys will drive that shit home.
Yeah, and that's why the important thing is just always keep pushing the info. Be like the Streisand effect, or like how Michael Jackson, when he dies, it's like everything becomes more. You get more famous. So it's kind of like that's the only way to just keep pushing. That's why I keep pushing it. So that's if anything happens, it's like all right, it's a boost.
And that's why Dr. Wood is still alive.
Yeah, all the recordings that I have of Wheelbarger, like that's why I'm not going to try and get any more of them. I got enough. But now I'm just going to put them out. And like my strategy is very simple. If we had an inside job, we would need agents. And my hope is to pressure him until he realizes just how exposed, just how bad his position is. And then he's either going to pop himself, which I hope he doesn't do, or he's going to cut deals to save his ass. And then maybe that way, the whole house of cards comes down. That's I don't know. That's my strategy. I just keep putting out the evidence, keep talking about it, keep pressuring him. He didn't go live on September 11th this year. He normally does. He didn't. I'm telling you that they're just acting like I do not exist, and that goes for all of them.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I'll start exposing that guy as well. Because I haven't seen your presentations before. This is pretty eye opening. Because I have a whole bunch of other stuff.
Go to my Exposing Lee Wheelbarger 2 videos on Instagram. You can see that. I'm right now in the process of breaking down his 8-hour-long presentation and also transcribing and breaking down the latest 3.5-hour-long video where he doxed me. So it's taking a little bit of time, but I would like to get you guys together, the Avengers together.
Yeah, you have exactly 7777 followers.
That's
okay.
Cool.
That's and 3131. All right.
That was not intentional. You guys haven't had a chance to, please go check out my Far Out with Faust episode, by the way. You can find that there. But yeah, it's way back into my Instagram. You guys can find that Exposing the Wheelbarger video.
Okay, I put the links in there, but I have to head out now. It's 5 o'clock my time. Been here for, I think we just did 4 hours.
All right. I told you we were going to ultra marathon it.
Yeah. Okay, guys. I think it's pretty epic stuff. And yeah, I just wanted to make another point here. Some people are saying remote control planes, whatever. I'm like, in the chat, I'm like, first of all, the actual plane cannot go at ground level at like that speed. There's a thing called the ground effect, where the faster you go, the more pressure is hitting the ground. So you need specialized types of planes to actually go flat with the ground. That's called the ground effect. So you need a special vehicle like this, where the wings are a bit different, so they can actually hover in the air.
Yeah, commercial airplanes can't fly at that speed that low normally, though. I mean.
Yeah, that's what I mean. This is pushing on the ground. Yeah, so so not only can you not do it because of the speed, but actually going that low altitude, there's actually a force pushing you up. So with the wings, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're actually, first of all, normal planes can't go that fast because the altitude is too low, the air pressure is too high, and it's just too fast, way above the operating speed. But not only that, but there's actually a physical possibility where you're having a force downwards from the wing vortices. So this actually pushes the ground. So as you go down, there's actually going to be a force pushing you to hover back up. So not only is the professional hijacker flying guys have to actually fly normal, now they also have to like constantly keep pushing downwards because they're getting like pretty much bouncing back up. Yeah, I'll send another photo. I think I added, let's see, wing to ground effect. This one, Keith brought it up many times in the Avengers, but I never looked at too much of it. That's why you'll need some sort of, like the planes that can fly that low, they usually have the vortices, the wings curved upwards. And then so there isn't too much force down, but then they have a cushioning effect. So basically, and they have, let's say, smaller wing tips, etc. And they can literally just hover on the ground. So it's a physical impossibility for it to even go that low, because it's you're having the air pushing you back up. So that's another magical stuff there. But yeah, again, this photo and also the driver's license of the hijacker was found.
Yeah.
All right.
And mRNA technology is totally healthy too.
yeah, this is absolutely mind-boggling. All right, guys, that's all for me, guys. Is there anything else you want to say? I'm going to end the stream, guys. I've had enough.
We had a good time. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, this is pretty much it. Yeah, thank you so much, Adam, for sharing all of that. It's a bombshell. People in the comments are actually asking where they can get a full download for your presentations and everything. So
guys, it's all like literally, like I've been sitting on an ocean of evidence and stuff. I'm putting it all together with the help of these gentlemen and others. And so just stay tuned. Go to my Instagram, Awakened Adam.
Yeah, sounds
good.
And
there was another
I put your links in there.
Interview that you did recently that got dropped by Cocktails and Conspiracies on September 11th. Yeah,
we did a marathon one. I was so goddamn exhausted. We did like a Sunday night 3 hour, and we started at like 9. I go to bed at 9. I'm like,
what is you? Such an old man that you go to bed at 9.
Brother, I got an 8-month-old. I'm exhausted by the time 9 o'clock.
Dude, it's 2 a.m. for me.
I know. I always compliment Norman because he's up later than everybody. I'm always apologizing to him.
No, that's because in South Africa, that's when you have power. All right. I have to throw in that joke every time. All right, guys, that's all. I'm gonna end the live stream in 3, 2, 1. I'm ending this one here. Okay, everyone. So that live stream, I'm gonna stop recording now. Okay, it's not recording anymore. Live stream's done. We, I think third